Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, summoners of all ages, welcome to the Games XP Championship Week 5 match of the Season 4 between Full Send Gaming and Purple Cobras. My name is Hickory. I will be guiding you through the play-by-play. Next to me, just out of reach, is my color caster. He is the king of ASMR, the prince of the top lane, the Jack of Quasar's heart. It is no one else but Fresh Burger. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty well. Not sure if I'm going to be able to follow up to quite that much hype, but I'll see what I can do.
It's a hype matchup because both of these teams are tied for third place, both at 5 and 3. Whoever wins is going to be popped up to the 6 and 3, tied for second with Team Phoenix Rising. Unfortunately, the loser is going to drop down to tied for fourth. Thank you for the clarification, sir. Which will be tied at 5 and 4 with Schism, No F's Given, and Red Dust Esports, all of which are actually still very easily positioned into the coming the rest of the league, as well as the coming playoffs. However, before we get to the standings of after this game, we need to get through this game. So how are you feeling about just kind of both these teams on paper so far?
I think Purple Cobras had a really good start to the season, but in recent weeks they have been struggling quite a bit. They lost to both Schism and White Lotus the week before last, and last week they picked up 2 wins, but against winless teams, if I remember correctly. Full Send Gaming is looking a lot stronger and much more consistent.
Is there any particular players, lanes, champions that you kind of want to pick for each side? Anyone you just like to look out for? Like for instance, just kind of looking down the list. Is Frisian someone that you're looking for to pop off, or is Memento on Ornn? What do you kind of want to see from either of these teams as like the primary catalysts?
For Full Send Gaming, I definitely think Left Hook Larry has been a large part in their team's success. If he can get one of his comfort picks, I think they have a much better chance of winning. But I'm not 100% sure which side or which lane I'm going to be looking for most from Purple Cobras. If Cinco can get his Renekton, I think he's got a very good chance at carrying this one, but Frisian has also had some impressive performances in the mid lane.
Sure, okay. Am I correct in thinking that Left Hook Larry's comfort pick is Jax?
The one that I've seen the most success on so far this season is Pantheon.
Okay, I could be remembering incorrectly. I just remember that there is someone that really, really likes Mr. Jack Sereno. That's just my bad memory, though. Definitely not something to be reliable. So before, we're not going to get in the draft just yet. We're not going to get in the game just yet, but just kind of looking at them on paper, it's Friction, I believe, that's actually the Jax. I knew there was someone who was into the Jax here. Do you just have like a quick prediction just on paper looking at these teams? You mentioned that you're feeling NFG or at Full Send Gaming a little bit more. You're thinking Purple Cobras kind of slightly on a downward spiral. Who do you think can potentially pick up this game?
I think the odds are in favor of FSG, although I would predict it to be a 2-1 because Purple Cobras is not one to take a defeat lying down.
So a FSG 2-1. I like that. Is there a few quick bans that you really want either side to throw out as we get the first Anivia from the side of Purple Cobras? And there's the Renekton.
Yes, Renekton from Full Send Gaming is more or less a must ban for them. And from the side of Purple Cobras, I'm surprised they haven't been focusing the jungle more yet. I've seen a lot of success from his Pantheon and some strong showings from his Volibear already this season. And I do believe he is also a comfortable Rengar player, even if he hasn't pulled it out particularly often.
I do remember a pretty fantastic Volibear game that I myself was not prepared for. The Pantheon ban does come out, Renekton and Jax as well. A lot of respect bans, I think, from both teams. They're both very equal in the standings.
And there's a respect ban for Frisian. I don't believe anybody is very focused on banning out meta picks. They're just trying to take their opponents down in comfort level.
Here is something that I've wondered, though. As Frisian, I think, has had Ahri banned against him every single match. As Frisian, do you start to not practice Ahri and, practice other picks and stuff like that because you're not going to get it? And then as NFG, Full Send Gaming, FSG, do you leave the Ahri up and try and trick him into playing it if you're ready for him to play Ahri, which you have a counter pick and he's not been practicing it? Mind games?
I believe it's quite likely that he would stop playing as much in scrims, but if Ari is his most comfortable champion, he would still play it in solo queue. So I don't think he would be rusty enough to let it get through the bans.
Okay, okay. I'm just playing too many mind games here. Ornn is picked up for Memento with potentially Scion going in the top game for Single Gazer. Haven't been seeing a lot of other places very much, as well as the Nocturne for Left Hook Larry and the Olaf for Friction. Everyone's just kind of picking their champion, their role so far. Going with these, what do you want to see from Chrismeister with the Nocturne and the Ornn? What should be the third pick for FSG?
You know, I think that this would be the time for them to start securing some of their bot lane picks before they can have too many bans thrown at them. I'm not 100% sure what their own power pick for the bot lane is, but I don't think showing mid this early would be their best choice.
Yeah, they should have a mid counter pick. They are going to pick up the Misfortune into a Kaisa. We can get that in just 1 second because I just want to mention that FSG with an ESUP is going to have to give up their second bans. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I need to get the production crew to check that out because it might actually be.
I don't believe
Cobras
so. That looks like their starting roster.
Yeah, I think it actually must be Purple Cobras. I'm sorry. So in that case, what do you want the last ban from FSG to be?
I think that they could just throw another ban at the mid lane at this point. I think Desolate Earth has enough picks that he's comfortable on that throwing bans at him at this stage in the draft wouldn't do you many favors. And they already do have. Oh, actually,
Yeah, there is a
ban.
Braum on you.
I do like that. Braum would be a good counter to Misfortune. Of course, blocking the double up shot in lane and the bullet time in team fights.
Akali is hovered as Rise and Alistar's banned. Excuse me for my misinformation. I'm going to blame my supervising production crew. I think it's probably their fault, not me reading something wrong. So everybody does have their bans. Is this going to be an Akali?
I wouldn't expect the blind pick Akali. That would be a very, very aggressive pick right there. I think the Morgana makes a lot more sense.
It would be a little bit weird to last pick your support, would it not?
Absolutely. While getting counterpick in bot lane can give you quite an advantage down there, I really don't think that would have been the best way to spend it in this draft.
Sure. All right. All right. Another Akali hover as well, but it might be the Cassiopeia. It's actually be the Lissandra. Interesting pickup. How do you feel about Lissandra blind?
I'm not a huge fan as a blind pick. She's not particularly strong in the current meta, and I do think that she will be relatively easily countered.
Would you have liked the Cassiopeia as opposed to it?
I think Cassiopeia is a little bit more reliable in that when you pick her, you know that as long as you make it to late game, you will be a reliable source of damage, while Lissandra is a little bit more reliant on being quite strong and being able to one-shot somebody with her combo.
Is there someone else that you probably see besides the two of them? Just while we're waiting for the final pick, Nautilus does come in as Desolate Earth's pick, but Lissandra, Cassiopeia, is there someone, a third person that would maybe be your preferable in this blind pick situation?
For mid lane at this point, I'm not entirely sure who the safest blind pick is. I would have said Zoe before the last couple patches, but that has fallen down priority. Now the Talia pick is rather surprising to me. It's been a while since I've seen any priority put on that in the mid lane.
Yeah, especially outside of jungle. But that would mean an incredible amount of map play for this side of FSG with the Ornn, the Nocturne, and the Talia.
Absolutely. Both teams have a rather strong roaming mid and a long engaged top lane, a long range engaged top lane. Excuse me. The main difference in the global pressure, of course, does come from the Nocturne picked up by Left Hook Larry.
So, speaking of that Nocturne, I want to just kind of look at these matchups a little bit more. Just kind of first and foremost, who do you think got away with a little bit more in this drafting phase?
In my opinion, there are more power picks on the side of Purple Cobras, which isn't really saying much because I don't think either team really went very far into the way of the power picks. Most of them seem to have gone for comfort in this draft.
Okay. Okay. We were thinking that FSG probably has the whole match, but maybe not the draft. I do actually want to kind of hone in on the bot lane the most here, with a pretty sizable difference in the way that the champions play. Um, who do you think has the early game advantage, and who do you think is going to be able to push things a little bit harder, a little bit faster? We can kind of assume that Kai'Sa is going to be kind of scary towards the later stage of the game. But where do they come up with these early game advantages to either get them to that late game, or misfortune to take over?
Well, if you're just looking at bot lane, then the side of Misfortune and Morgana should have a very sizable lead coming out of lane. Because, of course, the poke from Misfortune is extremely hard to answer. And even if Nautilus tries to look for an all-in, then Morgana has her Black Shield to negate his hook. I I do think Nautilus was a rather odd pick, having already seen the Morgana. Perhaps it's just such a comfort pick for him that he doesn't care what it's picked into.
Um, what at odd in what way? I mean, how would you like to have seen it?
Nautilus is a good counter pick to two squishy bot laners that you're looking to engage on, but not when one of them can negate CC. If I understand correctly, when Nautilus hooks somebody that's been black shielded, he pulls himself halfway towards the enemy while they stay still. So all he'll end up doing is moving himself closer to the misfortune poke and not putting his enemy in any danger.
That's a pretty interesting interaction. I think I've actually ever seen that before. I would have just kind of assumed it would have fallen short, kind of like like a thresh hook or a blitzcrank hook, but he does pull
It's quite
himself.
possible, but of course that
Uh,
also means that he does have to root himself in place sort of while he's throwing
yes,
it and open
absolutely.
himself up to some response from the Morgana and the misfortune queue.
That's interesting. Okay, so I mean, you're the top lane guy. Really quickly, who won Memento or Cinco Gazer just based on the draft?
Based on
Who's
the
going to
draft,
smash this? Who's going to smash their lane?
I would give Ornn the advantage here. Sion has rather high base damages, but the percent health damage from Ornn's E and his brittle makes it extremely hard to trade against him as a tank.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Is this the one game that Purple Cobras is winning? Yes or no?
I would predict no,
Okay, well,
actually.
we're going to potentially give it to an FSG. Thank you very much for the thoughts. My man, Fresh Burger, don't you worry, friends. He's not going anywhere. The ASMR darling is still going to be here. We're going to kick it to a commercial break. We'll see you guys in just a few moments for the beginning of the game, as well as some fan predictions. See you guys soon.
My name is Tim Borseth, and I own and operate Games XP in Decorah, Iowa. Games XP is a geek paradise. We carry everything from Pong and Atari all the way to Xbox One and PS4, and all the games that would go with those consoles as well. We also carry a ton of movies. We have handheld games. We have Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. We have D&D and Pathfinder. We carry Warhammer 40K. We have a vintage Star Wars selection. This place is great. My wife and I have had 6 kids, and they are so much fun to work with here at the store. They run the store as much as I do.
And we now repair cell phones, game consoles, computers, and small electronics.
Our store is instant fun. Not only is there cool music and cool stuff to look at, but we have a game room that is so much fun. It's free to play, and you just plug in your game system and enjoy life. The Game XP motto is bringing joy to people's lives through our products, people, and a place to play. So you have got to come to Decorah, Iowa, and check out Games XP and experience this geek gaming paradise.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GXPC. It would not be a GXPC without a pause. So, while we're thinking about what might happen, we potentially have a reboot. I want to hone in on something very interesting. You and I were kind of giving a little bit of favor to FSG, Full Send Gaming, on the red side right now, with their draft. Do you have an idea who the fans might be backing?
If I were to take a guess, I would say also FSG, although I can't be 100% sure.
Okay. The first vote sequence was 75% for FSG, only 25% for Purple Cobras. But as we are speaking, the tides are turning. 60% for FSG, 40% for Purple Cobras. If you're a Purple Cobra fan, you need to spam it. You need to vote it in the chat. Type in PPC win or FSG win forever you're voting for. Get some parity between the two. Get some fighting amongst the fans. But besides what the fans may or may not think, I have a little game that I like to play with my color casters. Sir, who will get the first blood on whom at what time?
I think that with the early game prowess from the Jungler and Purple Cobra side, I'm going to give it to Olaf on to Ornn at 6 minutes 30 seconds.
Olaf on to Ornn at 6 minutes 30 seconds.
I don't think either jungler will be very comfortable ganking lanes other than top lane, at least not until level 6. And I think with Olaf's chain slow as well as the additional CC from Sion, they've got a good chance at taking down Ornn if they go for it.
Awesome. That I like the boldness. There's no hesitation in that prediction. I'm just gonna say it one more time so I can keep it in my brain. Friction on Olaf is going to get the first blood onto Memento at 6 minutes and 30 seconds into this game.
That is my prediction.
All right, we're gonna keep it in. I'm gonna keep it in my brain. I'm gonna keep you to it. If you fail, well, we'll just have to get there at that point. But if you win, well, there's a special surprise for you. Going down the list really quickly, is there anything just really out there or in particular that you mentioned about some keystones?
The keystones look to be pretty standard on both sides. If anything, I would look at the Electrocute on Talia. She's just gone for the burst damage over the consistent poke of Aerie or something like that. But other than that, it all seems to be quite standard.
Actually, speaking on the Electrocute, does Talia have kill pressure on Lissandra?
I think at early levels, she definitely has the opportunity to pick up some kills on Lissandra, especially because Lissandra opted into taking teleport against Talia's cleanse, which will give her a little bit less 1v1 potential.
Combat summoner versus a global summoner. That would actually leave them with 2 teleports on the side. Is that in response to the global draft of FSG, or do you think he would have gone teleport?
I think teleport is pretty standard to go on any top laner and on a Lissandra mid lane. Although it is very convenient that it'll help you respond to the Talia walls and the Nocturne ults, and of course the Ornn's own teleport.
So probably would have gone either way.
I would imagine so.
Okay. We do actually, while we're waiting for things to load in, have a special little treat for you. If you guys would like to see it, it'll be up in just a few moments.
All right.
So surprising to no one, the Purple Cobras mascot votes for Purple Cobras. A little bit of a bias with the dog. How do you feel about it? Is it good statistic-based analysis or just a little bit biased?
I don't think it's fair to say either. I think it's, just a tiny bit of luck in there, just a little bit of random chance. But we will see how the prediction works out. Of course, we have we're not entirely certain which side will win this just yet.
Yeah, I mean,
at least a game.
You would set a 2-1, which that can very easily be a 2-1 on the other side. Just a turbo int from a Nocturne here, or a missed flash from a misfortune there.
It's very easy to it's very easy to turbo int on Nocturne if you have the mind to. Not many champions can put yourself directly underneath an enemy turret from your own jungle.
It's pretty awesome. It's really, really fun to do. I'm very, very bad at jungle, and for some reason I'm 11-1 in ranked on Nocturne. Not sure what's really up with that one. So I
think Nocturne's been pretty strong recently. He might have picked a good time to pick that up.
It has been quite fun. Speaking of, actually, This is a pretty tanky lineup for the side of Purple Cobras. Is Kaisa just his primary and potentially only target?
I do think Kaisa will be the #1 target by far because you have 3 members that will be building quite a lot of tank stats, and a Lysandra who of course can simply ulti herself when she sees the
Yeah.
Nocturne coming in. But she can't ulti the Kaisa. So even though she does have her own ult for a little bit of disengage, she will be the best target.
Kaisa?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I like it. Thank you very much. It's just kind of interesting that we have, the global team and the tank team. But here we are getting into it. Game 1 of FSG versus PPC. On the red side, we have Memento in the top lane, left hook Larry jungle, Chris Meister mid to Leah, Snippet playing Misfortune in the ADC, Phoenix DC as support. On the opposite side of the rip is PPC, and they're tied, mind you. It's Cinco Gazer top, Friction jungle, Frisian mid, not obnoxious at all. Tomato Farmer, ADC, Desolate Earth. Those 2 names are gonna kill me, but we'll just get through it. We do have a 5-man
We'll have to
here.
do our best.
You had said that it was a first blood at 6:30, and I see 2 5-man stacks just kind of sitting here.
Yeah, it looks like they're both playing this a little bit patiently though. I don't think that even if they do try to push into the enemy jungle, they're going to run into each other as 5-man stacks. It looks like both sides are just trying to make sure they're protected.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like much of an invade attempt so much as just like a counter invade attempt even. Both teams are going to fan out, get their line of scrimmages going down. It's probably going to be a pretty normal blue and red bot side start for the junglers. And you're not thinking any level 2 shenanigans with either of these guys, correct?
I wouldn't expect it, no. After taking their first buffs, I don't think either of them have 2 abilities alone strong enough to go get themselves a first blood. Although they might be able to burn a flash if they go bot lane.
It's actually double wards on the Rift Scuttle, the Scuttle Crabs from the side of FSG. Is that a worthwhile investment? Are they really trying to set
I
left
don't
hook
think
Larry
it's
up?
a bad idea. Now, you don't want to be fighting Olaf at these scuttles as Nocturne, not in the early game. But if you know for sure which one he went to, then you can try and pick up the other one for yourself.
Yeah, they do have eyes on Friction as he's going for the bot lane Scuttle Crab. I would probably hope that left hook Larry's not going to go for too much. He is actually kind of looking that way.
Yeah, this is interesting. Left hook Larry doesn't have a smite charge up, but he is trying to push into that Olaf there.
Fear is connecting onto Friction, but left hook Larry might have gone a little bit too far. Friction actually pretty low here, and he has to flash away. As a flash forward from left hook Larry, but no kill just yet. First blood for left hook Larry. Picks up double buff on the side of the Nocturne. That does not look like a top lane 6-3, 6 minutes and 30-second Orange kill.
No, I wasn't quite predicting so much early action around the bot side river there. I'm not sure what exactly was going on. The Olaf seemed to accidentally kite into the enemy mid laner as if it was his own, and then have to burn his flash to make his way towards his own tower.
Could he have flashed over the wall to red buff?
I think he definitely could have walked that way if he had chosen to. It was just a little bit misplayed from the side of Purple Cobras there.
Perhaps a little bit of early game or first game jitters as we start to settle into this 3-game series, as a Single Gazer is taking a pretty nice trade here in the top lane, but nothing too crazy just so far outside of that first kill, and that will actually give Left Hook a potential to grab the second Scuttle Crab in the top side, maybe trade in 1-for-1 plus the kill, and actually Memento's getting pushed in pretty hard here. You think he's okay to CS though?
One thing to note in the top lane is that Sion went for the Biscuits route while Ornn decided to go for the Minion Dematerializer to help him clear waves faster. So Sion will be better in these early game trades.
Would he go Biscuits and Time Work Tonic on top of it?
That is a very strong possibility. That is
a really nice hook from Desolate Earth. Gonna force out the Black Shield. Not too much follow-up, but it's just gonna kind of get him scared. It's always good as support, especially a hooking support, to kind of remind them not to be walking forward. As a dash forward from Memento, he's gonna trade pretty well onto Cinco Gazer. He haven't back just yet, but very few corrupting potions are on the side of Cinco Gazer, who we thought were gonna be taking these trades a little bit better so far.
Well, it looks like Ornn did go ahead and take a recall for himself before teleporting back to lane.
Oh.
So He's trying to assert a little bit of pressure now that he's back and force out Scion's own teleport.
I didn't even see the TP. Thank you very much for pointing that out. That's a pretty early TP for a Ornn, isn't it?
It is, but taking a teleport in lane relatively early on doesn't hurt you that much, especially as Ornn, where you just need to sustain through the first few levels and then you can build up enough items to have an advantage in your lane.
And I mean, of course, you can buy in lane with that fantastic little passive.
Well, of course, though being out of corrupting charge stacks and relatively low on health and mana, taking the recall probably seemed like the much safer option.
Another hook, but is a bit kind of reactive from Desolate Earth, as Tomato Farmer had taken a pretty big love tap proc from the queue of Snippet. Trade actually going in the favor of FSG that time, but no one really wants to commit fully just yet. Really kind of in any of these lanes. A lot of respect given from kind of just all sides of the map outside of that interesting first level, as a Friction does run in top lane. Here is the gank you were looking for about a minute earlier. Nice knock up from Cinco Gazer. This should be a dead momentum as his flash is burned. Kill given over to Cinco Gazer. That is what we were looking for at the beginning of this game. Unfortunately, it required Friction to die just beforehand.
Yes, that is one of the safest ganks that I thought Olaf could have in the early game. I wasn't expecting the jungle, or the river fight from the two of them.
Yeah, another fight actually between Left Hook Larry and Friction, and Left Hook Larry really took the advantageous trade there, but he will give up the Scuttle Crab, even though he really chunked out his opponent, taking a little bit of damage from the sign of Frisian, giving up the Scuttle Crab.
Even though Nocturne has the advantage in 1v1 Keystone and in items, it looks like he prioritized holding mid lane or farming mid lane while his mid laner's backed over trying to contest that Scuttle Crab.
Yep, sounds good to me. I like stealing farm as a jungler, especially when I'm a kill up. It feels really, really nice. Because there actually is a decent CS lead here for Chris Meister, who does predict the dash forward very, very well. Nice flash from both sides and an easy kill picked up for Chris Meister. Trading the flash, he didn't have to use his cleanse, and teleport was burned for Frisian already, so it's going to be a big advantage for the side of Chris Meister, who I was just worried about his CS. CS differential, I mean.
Yeah, I think that after the changes to Talia's Q, Lissandra has an easier time shoving in and CSing waves, but that trade was extraordinarily well played from the Talia, landing her WEQ combo to proc Electrocute, and then flashing forwards with the Q already angled to get the last couple of hits and an auto attack on Lissandra to finish her off. Really an impressive performance.
A lot of the movement as well. Seems like Chris Meister might have the number of Frisian this game we have to keep in. So I guess we kind of like the Electrocute pick all of a sudden, if he's going to be that aggressive and that able to 1v1 in the mid lane. Gonna have to see where the first Weaver Wall kind of goes. Gonna have to see where the first Paranoia and Call the Forge God goes. But so far, decent advantages for the side of FSG, but Purple Cobras is definitely not giving them any grounds. Only a 200 gold lead for the team that did pick up first blood. Although there is a decent amount of a CS difference in the bot lane. Probably needs to be checked in on a little bit in the future. Is that just because of the matchup, or is this an actual problem? Actually, with trade up in the top lane, Singazer are taking a bad trade. And actually, the Call the Forge God goes off, does hit Singazer instantly. The attack up doesn't, it does connect, but a little bit far under tower. And I think Memento got a little bit big for his bridges there.
Yeah, I think he definitely has the potential to get a solo kill in this lane, but he would have to draw Cinco a little bit farther out from his tower. Even if Cinco had been threatened with a solo kill, he had his ultimate. He could have just cast in the kill right out of there.
Yeah, unfortunately, Left Hook Larry wasn't really anywhere in the area for some backup. Drop Paranoia onto him. This is a half-health Tomato Farmer. The bullet time is going to go. There's Paranoia right on to Tomato Farmer. Pops instantly, but Left Hook Larry might be left out to dry. He does flash away. Very well-timed Black Shield as well. Might get phased out. Flash forward from Tesla at Earth, but he actually kind of turned around the wrong side. But what is Snippet trying to do here? He's trying to 1v2 versus a pretty beefy Nautilus. A nice single kill in the bot lane. First Paranoia gets a kill. That's a 2-0 Nocturne in 9 minutes.
Yes, that will definitely be quite the force to be reckoned with going later into this game. Tomato Farmer not looking very comfortable against that just yet. That was...
Yeah, he was sitting at like kind of 40% health for some time there. I wonder if he's just not being as respectful as he might need to. As a blue buff is going to be passed over to the side of Chris Meister, who does have that kill, getting him ahead a little bit more. Is that actually going to give him a chance to get another solo kill? As hopefully Friction will give over the blue buff, but he might not be.
Yes, I think Talia has a pretty good shot at getting a solo kill now that they can essentially combo on demand without having to worry about it very much. And the blue buff, interestingly, not being given to Lissandra. Friction sort of saying that they've been left to their own devices for now.
Yeah, that might feel kind of bad as the silent sub does actually hit onto Friction right as we're looking at him. Not a lot of follow-up damage just yet, but with that much mana, that much CDR, Chris Meister can just keep throwing these out over and over and over again. As a Paranoia is almost off cooldown once again, so is Call of the Forge God. And speaking of, Memento does dash for it, but is to speak of. He might take a bit of an unfavorable trade here, and Left Hooker there really isn't in the way of ganking just yet. But could we see a bit of a top lane dive with Paranoia and Call of Forge God in a few seconds?
I think it's a possibility, but your best bet at it would be catching Cinco off guard with the Orin ultimate, and then having Nocturne ult to him and get behind him before he comes back to the ground. Because with both summoners up plus his ultimate, Cinco isn't going to be a very easy gank right now.
Pretty big trade in the bot lane is going to force Snippet to flash away. Oh, a really nice pop on the W from Tomato Farmer. I think that was actually the plasma stack that just blew him up for about 20% health.
Yeah, Snippet getting a little bit out of position there in the bot lane, and Tomato Farmer just getting those stacks up right before they had to right before Misfortune had to flash away from Nautilus ult. Just a beautiful setup.
And Paranoia on to Friction. Friction is able to pick up the Infernal Drake, but he's going to go down in return for it. I don't think Left Hook Larry's getting that. Actually, Left Hook Larry does get a kill on to Desolate Earth, as well as Tomato Farmer going down. That's 3 for 0 for the Infernal Drake, potentially 4 for 0. It looks like actually Friction's going to have to flash away. 3 for 0 trade for the Infernal Drake.
Yes, it was rather unfortunate on the side of Full Send Gaming. Larry used his smite the very moment that he was in range, and the dragon just wasn't quite low enough. But Purple Cobras being in rather poor shape to fight right there, giving over 3 kills, still makes this Nocturne an incredible threat.
Should they have waited off on the dragon a little bit? Was it just well-timed by the side of Left Hook Larry and crew, who is actually engaging on a Friction? He's going to 1v1 an Olaf in his jungle. That is a brave and feeling good 3-0 Nocturne. As actually Chris Meister is behind Left Hook Larry. He does seismic shove him. Left Hook Larry is able to pick up the kill on to Friction, but he goes down to the side of Tomato Farmer. But full time when Tomato Farmer is going to blow him up instantly, and Desolate Earth is left out to dry. 3 members of FSG is going to pull him up, and Chris Meister picks up his 3rd kill of the game. 4-1 on Left Hook Larry, 3-0 on Chris Meister, 1-1 on Snippet, which is only 3 kills total on the side of Purple Cobras. What do they need to do to slow things down? What do they need to do to turn things around, as it's starting to get kind of scary only 12 minutes into the game?
I think Purple Cobras, what they need to do right now is just focus on getting a little bit of vision control in their jungle and not jumping on the first person that they see every time. Because they had an opportunity to try to get a kill on the Nocturne there, but as you could see, they just weren't able to finish him off fast enough. He was able to kite around to his team and then take a numerically advantageous fight for himself once his bot lane and his mid laner had caught up to him.
Question. Did Friction not giving over the blue buff lead to Chris Meister being able to rotate faster in that 1v1?
I think it definitely made it more difficult for the Lissandra to keep up the wave clear, but already being at a disadvantage, I think if both of them had blue buff, or if neither of them did, then it still would have gone into Leah's favor.
Okay, I was just trying to make some sort of dialogue where, Friction was, paying it forward 5 minutes later, but it probably was actually off cooldown at that point. But Phoenix might get engaged on here. He does Black Shield. Not a lot of follow-up just yet, and Chris Meister is going to kind of escort him out, as Left Hook Larry is looking for the bot lane Scuttle Crab, completely uncontested by the side of Friction. He's just trying to farm it up, get back into this game. He's already down 2 kills. Unfortunately, mid laner's down 2 kills as well. And without any really dragons coming up just yet, and Rift Child maybe just not on the menu just yet, what is the kind of next step for FSG? How do they start ratcheting things up?
As you can see on the minimap there, the bottom lane tower on the side of Purple Cobras is beginning to get extremely low. I think having Nocturne or Talia come down and pressure that down so you can have your bot lane swap top lane and take Rift Herald would be the best play for them.
All right, makes sense. That's awesome. It is kind of what they're looking to do. There is a ward here that has not seen Left Hook Larry just yet. He is in the further bush away from it. Not sure if he wants to stay. Actually, Chris Meister is starting to get around this area. He does have the Weaver's Wall, but he actually spots Frisian over the side of the Dragon Pit, but doesn't look like anyone wants to force it so hard as there is a 4-player parity on both sides of the map, and only a teleport actually for Cinco Gazer. They might not want to force it too hard for FSG, but here comes the Paranoia and the bullet time on to Tomato Farmer. Snippet gets up the kill really easily. Dustledout's pretty low. He gets rooted up and might actually go down here as well. Double kill for Snippet. He's feeling good. A flash forward from Phoenix to root him in place. Is this a triple kill? It is a triple kill for Snippet. 4-1 accelerating rapidly on this Misfortune. That should also be first brick for the bot lane as Memento feels brave enough to trade 1v1.
Yeah, both teams could see what the next objective coming up was, and they both sent 4 players around bot lane. The biggest problem that Purple Cobras had there was that they didn't have very much quick CC left once the Sandra had left, and the Kaisa was blown up so quickly that she didn't have the chance to use either Summoner or her own ultimate. So really just a snap decision from FSG to pull the trigger once they realized the Sandra had left. And it paid dividends for them.
He'd been sitting there for a while, so it's good to see that his investment paid off, because he'd been sitting there for probably about a minute at that time. But you're right, Paranoia and bullet time onto a squishy little Tomato Farmer does not feel good. Here comes actually the Ornhorn top lane, but a Memento is in the 2v1. Well, that's actually in a very, very nice dodge away with a killer instinct and a flash from Tomato Farmer. He didn't use his summoners last time, so he gets away this time. And unfortunately, Chris Meister was caught trying to Weaver's Wall around the Rift Herald. He's going to go down a shutdown on the side of Frisian. A nice surge of gold back for him. And the play completely shut down by Purple Cobras. Maybe stretching a little bit too far here.
Yeah, if Talia had perhaps allowed her teammates around the top lane to work on that themselves and not tried to cast the Weaver's Wall, it would have been advantageous for FSG, because of course Kaisa did have to burn her ultimate and both summoners to get away from that Ornn there. But with getting the pick onto Talia is going to be huge for them. I believe it was Lissandra that picked up the kill.
Yes, it was.
So she'll be getting her lane opponent shut down, as well as the blue buff that Nocturne had just given her maybe a minute before.
Yeah, it was probably not even halfway done. But see, the thing is, Burger, if you get double ulted bot lane and don't use your summoners, you can just use them top lane to get away. It's all thought out very, very well by the side of Tomato. Flash forward actually friction. He's trying to get onto the bot lane duo, but the bullet time probably should disengage him. I don't think it's going to be a kill. Whoa, that's a very low Tomato Farmer, but he just barely gets away. Disengagement bullet time did quite a lot of damage there as it fully casted onto the squishy targets. But a nice disengagement from the side of Snippet and Phoenix, but it will blow Snippet's flash as they're really, really trying to push this top lane tower. Why are they not rotating mid lane?
I think that they're rather comfortable with how mid lane is going right now. Talia has had quite a lot of pressure and is still in the driver's seat there. So I think they just want to continue with the original plan, force down the top tower, and then rotate to Herald and maybe use that to break mid if it hasn't already fallen. A
chunk of damage goes on left hook. Larry, Ragnarok has been popped for the side of friction, but he might get away. Paranoia actually returning back onto no one is actually a disengagement Paranoia. Whoa, Chris Meister just blows up Frisian with a nice knockback, but a return kill for the side of Tomato Farmer, a 1-for-1. Phoenix does go down, Frisian does go down. Unstoppable is Cinco Gazer, by the way, and that's a dead Snippet with no flash.
Yes, the play from Chris Meister was quite impressive there. Frisian just staying around a little bit too long, trying to pick up that solo kill, and finding the burst damage to pop them.
Call it the Forge God as Tomato Farmer loses his mind tower. A free kill going back to Chris Meister. That's actually 2 kills very easily picked up ever since he died. But so far, they've not been able to push their agenda in the mid lane. They do get the top lane tower, 2 towers for the side of FSG, a nice 4K gold lead at about 20 minutes into the game with an Ocean Drake up. They probably don't have time to get the Herald anymore, unfortunately. But a pretty nice beginning mid-game for this team.
Yeah, it was a little bit too busy for them to pick up the Rift Herald, but I think that FSG can still be rather pleased with the way that they played this out.
Yeah, it's been fairly clean, except for maybe just a little bit of greed, I guess you could say.
Yeah, staying a
here
little
and
bit
there.
too long in the top lane right there, letting the Scion collapse with that teleport into the ultimate, which is just devastating for a low mobility AD carry like Misfortune.
Yeah, and he didn't even have flash anymore. I didn't have... But they're probably going to be able to get vision control over this Ocean Drake, see if they can pick it up here pretty soon. Left Hook, Larry, and Friction are both around there. They probably want to both contest this, even though it is an Ocean Drake. Actually, most of the teams on both sides are rotating over. No teleport for either top laner. It's going to force them to walk their way all the way down. But it's actually Memento that's a little bit out of position here. It might be a Smite fight. Smite picked out by Friction. Very, very nicely done with the Ragnarok. Complete disengagement. No one's going to die. Does Paranoia get popped by Left Hook? Larry, the Weaver's Wall does go. And they're actually still pushing it pretty far. There's Paranoia on to the summoner-less Tomato Farmer, but a great ultimate from Frisian gets him out of there. It will be a trade for Tomato Farmer as Memento takes him down, and a stopwatch for Frisian, but the tower down means he might be done for. Memento's very low here, so is Snippet, but he gets away just barely. Actually, it looks like Single Gazer is going to chase down Snippet, does get the return kill. Desolate Earth goes down to Chris Meister. Chris Meister's still ready. He's got a decent amount of mana pool here. He wants to turn things on to Cinco Gazer, but he might have gotten himself slightly out of position with 2 in the middle of him. He flashes out, actually very nicely done by Memento to disengage his teammate, but he might have been left out to dry by Chris Meister. Can Chris Meister get the damage out? He doesn't really have a lot beside him. He doesn't have a lot in the way of mana, and actually, oh no, Phoenix is just gonna get caught out. All of a sudden, it's a kill for Cinco Gazer. Was that an extended 3 for 4?
I do believe it was a 3 for 3, as the Ornn and the Talia on the side of FSG, as well as the Scion and the Olaf on the side of Purple Cobras, never fell in that engagement.
But what just happened and why?
After taking the dragon, or after the dragon was stolen, rather, by Purple Cobras, FSG wanted to get something back for themselves and tunneled just a little bit too hard onto that Kaisa, chasing her under tower, Nocturne getting taken out by the Lissandra, unfortunately. And while Ornn was able to pick up the kill, their team was scattered across the mid lane, making it a rather disorganized fight.
How does the kind of communication go in the beginning of that team fight when you're trying to go in? Because I noticed Snippet did not have flash, but I think that was it. Should Snippet maybe said, "Hey, I might get caught out here," or do they really think they can get the kill and get out with Left Hook Larry?
I don't think Snippet's flash would have been much of a problem at the beginning of that fight, as the only person that would have been going into their team was the Nocturne, backed up by the Ornn ulti. If he had managed to spell shield the Lissandra ult, which is difficult since it's such a short animation, but if he had managed to get the spell shield on that, or if he had just popped Kaisa a little bit faster, I think FSG would have been just fine.
Okay, so just like a little bit of a.
Well, it was a little bit overconfident going for it in the first place, and perhaps a little bit misplayed.
Changing gears just slightly, now that we have a few items coming in, I am kind of curious to look at Snippet with a Yumu's and a Stormrazor, as well as a Curtius Crystal as well, looking for another Zeal item. Deepak crit at Misfortune for me.
Misfortune with a crit bow is something I haven't seen in a little while. She very often goes crit within the last couple items, but I'm more used to seeing the double lethality items to start out the build. This is a rather interesting one, because you get more damage on the ultimate with lethality, while your autos, which you usually don't use particularly often, are much better with crit, of course.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see as Paranoid does jump onto Tomato Farmer. He stopwatches, but it might only delay the inevitable as Left Hook Larry does pick up the kill, but a rocking Olaf is gonna trade this kill right around. They both wanted to give it to each other, but Friction is able to pick up the kill. Chrismeister back in time behind the tower, but he's actually gonna get hooked up and a knock away. Oh, it's bullet time, but actually a flash from Desolate Earth just at the last second gets him away, but it might have left Phoenix out to dry as Single Gazer comes around from basically nowhere, who is knocked away from the team, and Memento's feeling pretty strong here. He's still pretty tanky. He wants to block for his team as Chrismeister does get in there, weaves his way for a kill onto Frisian. That's going to leave Single Gazer very, very low with 2 carries staring him down in the face. Oh, a great knock from Chrismeister. He's going to kill a double kill for Chrismeister, another kill for Snippet. I don't believe Memento's going down here. So many kills going over to the side of Purple Cobras, and really it was just Left Hook Larry. That's the only one that really went down. Phoenix just got caught out, but it's okay.
Yes, a lot of the fights in this game have been rather disorganized, so that one's starting out... Oh.
And an interesting fight as well from Tomato Farmer, who flashed forward and used heal and used Killer Instinct.
Yes, that was a rather interesting decision from the Kaisa. I don't think the Misfortune had enough kills in a row to make that quite worth it. Perhaps you just wanted to defend the tower, which is now still standing.
He did keep the tower alive. I can't imagine Snippet had more than 3 kills. I want to say it was 2 though in a row. So not the biggest shutdown on the side of Tomato Farmer, but he did stop the tower from going down, absolutely. Dragon will be up in about 30 seconds. Baron's been up for a few moments, but doesn't look like any team besides some vision control is looking that way too hard just yet.
Right. Though, at some point you have to wonder what exactly it is that makes teams going for all of these fights one after another, because FSG, of course, had just had a successful dive onto Tomato Farmer in the bot lane, and had one of their divers picked off by the top and jungle from Purple Cobras, and then both teams just kept clashing again and again and again as more of their members came bot lane. But there wasn't really much they were fighting over except one inner tower.
It's been an extremely bloody game. But you're absolutely right. Only 3 towers have been picked up for the side of FSG in 26 minutes. 2 dragons for the side of Purple Cobras. Not a massive amount of objective control, as this second Ocean Drake is going to go to the side of FSG uncontested. It's going to be picked up pretty easily by Left Hook Larry here.
Right.
But not
Ocean
a lot
Drake,
of objectives.
not one of your biggest priorities at this stage of the game, but as long as it's free, you might as well take it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be their first dragon, of course. It's going to give them parity with the Ocean Dragon of Purple Cobras, but Purple Cobras will still have the advantage of the Infernal Drake on their side. And also, you know, eventually we can start thinking about the last dragon.
The Elder Drake.
Elder Drake, thank you very much. Kept wanting to say elemental, and that doesn't sound right. You know, obviously having more elemental drakes with an Elder Drake feels a little bit better. But this is a really great vision control for the side of FSG, excuse me. I'm sorry, I keep trying to say that. FSG has had great vision control seemingly all game. Are they just baiting, or are they ready to go for Baron here?
I wouldn't expect anybody to truly start at the Baron just yet, with neither of the tanks anywhere near it, and maybe the carries not having quite the DPS you would want them to have to take Baron. If somebody were to go aggro it, I do believe it would just be a bait to lead to yet more fighting.
Okay, that's quite all right. But if it isn't Baron, what's the next step?
The next step, I believe...
Next step could be flashing onto Left Hook Larry, but he's going to get disengaged by the side of Momentum. But here, Horn on 2-2, and it knocks up and kills Frisian, who does go down with a trade kill for the side of Friction, as Tomato Farmer does go with a bullet time onto really just the tanks. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but that is 2 carries alive for the side of NFG. No carries for the side of Purple Cobras as Snippet picks up his 7th kill of the game. The Weaver's Wall to potentially pick out a pretty tanky Cinco Gazer. A 1 for 3 at the end of it. More kills going the sides of the carries of Full Send Gaming as the tanks of Purple Cobras are left once again to just kind of back things off, as unfortunately Frisian and Tomato Farmer do go down very, very rapidly. The tier 3 goes down. They might want to engage on Synchro Gazer. It does flash away instantly. They should be able to pick up this tower as well. I'm not sure they'll be able to get the inhibitor just yet, as respawn timers are coming in, but a great one fight for the side of FSG. Almost 9k in gold in the driver's seat right now.
Yes, and that particular fight raises an important question that probably should have been addressed already on the draft of Purple Cobras, which is why they decided to draft 3 tanks with a backline that puts themselves in the enemy team, with Lysandra dashing forwards to land her ultimate on either an opponent or herself, and Kaisa often trying to ult towards the enemy team to get some more DPS off. They don't really spend a lot of time sitting behind their tanks, do they?
No, they absolutely don't. And then I would actually like to know what the thought process is. I mean, you know, Olaf can go in, and so can Scion, but not nearly as fast as a Killer Instinct.
Yes, and they certainly haven't been utilizing that very beefy frontline that they have as of yet. We'll have to see if that's something that they can manage to do in some of the later team fights.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit of a communication issue, because just in that last fight, Frisian all but flashed forward to try and get the kill onto Left Hook Larry. He used his Glacial Path to get onto him, to drop the tomb onto him, and then 5 or 6 seconds later, when he was already in Zonia's, we finally heard Synchro Gazer coming in with the Unstoppable Onslaught. How can they get things a little bit better timed?
I think at this point, they really need to either wait for Nautilus to land a hook for somebody, or let Scion find a good time to engage himself, because having your carries keep engaging and getting themselves picked off is not going to lead to a win here for Purple Cobras.
Well, trying not to get picked off here, Purple Cobras is trying to regain some vision control around the Baron area. This is extremely calm Baron dance for a team being 8k up at 30 minutes. Should they be forcing a little bit harder, or do they just have to hang out at this point?
I think as soon as they have mid-priority, as soon as they've shoved a wave, they can go and try to bait starting it, and just have Ornn, if they chose to have Ornn group, they could have Ornn tank it up and just heal right back up with the Warmogs. Although, it appears they would rather have him split bot lane, a decision that I find somewhat odd at this point in the game.
He does have teleport up, but there is a 5-man squad for the side of Purple Cobras, but it's actually forcing Synchro Gazer to back and deal with it. Memento's going to continue pushing for the time being as the 4-4 splits up. Tomato Farmer is going to kind of split his way to the blue buff. Not sure where he's going just yet. Left Hook Larry might be looking for him. He doesn't have vision just yet. Memento has made his way to the tower. He's going to be able to pick up this tier 2 fairly uncontested. He's actually 2 levels up on Synchro Gazer right now.
Synchro Gazer just a little bit slow to respond to that one. I think that recognizing that the enemy team had far too many people showing on the map to be doing Baron, they should have had somebody recall much sooner. Just a little bit of poor map play from the side of Purple Cobras on that one.
Yeah, you're right. The macro's a little bit slow, and it seems to be getting a little bit slower here as the jungle is kind of slowly whittled away. Memento still has a 2-level lead and will probably win most of these fights against Synchro Gazer. Maybe not be able to kill him in this wet noodle fight, but will win the trades definitely. Friction really wants to go here, but actually Left Hook Larry is the one who paranoids onto Frisian, who immediately entombs himself, but he doesn't have much left in the way of defensive stats. He does actually have his Zonias, which is a few seconds left. Ornhorn is going to take him out, and it's going to leave Synchro Gazer out to dry. Synchro Gazer is really, really tanky here, but the bullet time is going to do a lot of damage to him. He does go down to Snippet. Snippet is almost on a rampage here as the zombie Scion does go down. 2 on the side of Purple Cobras as Memento wants to go forward. Tomato Farmer might be caught out here. He does have his flash. He gets away, but Desolate Earth is the last one standing. He dies with his flash open. Open inhibitor mid lane. It looks like FSG is going to be able to pick it up pretty easily. Are they going to be able to go for the win just yet? They don't have a wave. They aren't pushing it very, very hard. Memento's just kind of trying to clear out the wave here. and they might be backing off soon. They actually are hanging out. Left Hook Larry is in the Dragon Pit to pick up their second dragon of the game. Friction is still down as Memento tries to dash forward onto the wall. Friction's just getting poked out as he's trying to even get anywhere near Snippet. Unstoppable to just get away, Ragnarocking and rolling away as the first turret for the Nexus does fall, but is not going to be gamed just yet, as an Infernal was picked up for the side of Left Hook Larry. Infernal and Ocean for both teams.
Yeah, it really seems here like Purple Cobras are just struggling to figure out how they need to be playing these team fights right now, because they are sorely lacking in damage compared to their counterparts on the side of FSG, and their tanks, although there are 3 of them, just aren't able to absorb enough damage, especially not with bullet time, of course, going directly through them.
Well, speaking of bullet time, that's a 4-item Snippet who is going full critical strike with the Infinity Edge. Unfortunately, only a 3.5 tomato farmer on the side of Purple Cobras. But speaking of tomato farmer, how do you feel about this primarily AP kind of build coming out from him? Is it what they need to push back Memento and crew? As Tomb onto Chris Masters are going to force the cleanse instantly. Paranoia just to disengage. It does not actually get a kill. A nice flash away from Frisian does keep him alive. That's a flash-less and ultless mid laner, as Baron is ready to be started up and no one wants to go for it just yet. Surprisingly, Phoenix and Chrismeister were able to walk away from Friction. I don't think he wanted to fight without Vision too terribly, but no one's going for the Baron just yet.
No, a rather interesting decision. Perhaps FSG is just a little bit nervous about going for a 1v1 with Friction having won one earlier this game, and they would rather just go with the safe play of whittling down.
Left Hook Larry might actually be caught here. Does instantly go down to the Tomato Farmer, who pops him with the plasma. A good bullet time, gets a lot of damage across the tanks of Purple Cobras, but they're now on the back line of FSG. They might have gotten off a little bit too much. Phoenix actually does pick up a kill on to Friction, but it might have left him out to dry. Killer Instinct picks up another kill, as Frisian is going to go down in the return. A Hook and Desolate Earth is going to go down. Desolate Earth is going to get a count, excuse me, as Memento is the last man standing. Actually, a trade kill for Chris Meister, picks up Tomato Farmer. 1 and 2 standing on either side. A very hectic fight that was picked up by Purple Cobras. They initiated this one. Turned out kind of bad for them, as Memento might be able to potentially get an ace here. He dashes forward. He doesn't have ult. He doesn't have flash. He doesn't really have a lot in the way of killing. The turret is here. He might have to back up. But actually, it looks like Chris Meister is on the next. He's going to end it right now. Very, very easily done. Flash forward from Single. He does ultimately knocks him off. He might be able to stop it, but he does go down. An ace for Chris Meister at game 1 for Full Send Gaming. GG.
Yeah, Purple Cobras was really doing all they could to stop the game from ending at that point. First, picking one of the best fights that they could have gone for on the top side there, almost managing to sneak a teamfight win against a 12-1 Talia and a rather strong Misfortune as well. But in the end, they just couldn't close the deal. And, of course, Chris was able to make his way to the Nexus alone.
That 12-1 Talia, by the way, did 33,310 damage in a 36-minute, 20-second game. Very, very close to the 1,000 damage a minute mark on a incredibly well-played Talia. Potentially a ban in the next game?
I think it could warrant a ban, although it was worth noting that the ultimate wasn't used very often for blocking off exits. It was more just a way of chasing and utilizing Talia's kit without it in many situations.
So what you're saying is that Chris Meister could have had an even higher damage output?
I think if he had used his ultimate to affect the side lanes more often, he could have, yes. But that's not meant to be a slight. I don't think his side lanes needed the help all that much this game.
No, they looked quite all right, but we're going to have to see how they do in the second game. That being said, we're going to take a short break before we jump into the second draft. Do not touch that dial. We'll see you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GXPC Season 4 Week 5 matchup between Full Send Gaming and Purple Cobras. While both teams are tied in the season standings, Full Send Gaming was able to pick up the first game win here in this best of 3. So as we jump into the second draft, what do we need to see from the side of Purple Cobras to bring things back to parity in the series?
I think it's actually rather difficult to say what exactly they need to do differently in the draft. Perhaps skip over the first pick on the Scion, as I think Scion and Ornn are both strong enough. As long as you can play both, you can let them go through. But the bans, I do believe they will want to keep the Pantheon ban, as it is extremely terrifying in the hands of Left Hook Larry. And the same with the
We had an Anivia.
Wait, no, Redactum was on the other side. My apologies.
Anivia, Pantheon, and the third ban was something that I probably should have written down, but I did not. Could they drop the Anivia?
Right. But I do believe that dropping the Anivia for the Talia would be a good option for them after seeing how that game went. Because, of course, all the Anivia really wants to do is sit back and scale, while the Talia has a lot more agency to make some early to mid-game plays. I
think it was a Jax, actually. There was a third ban. So Purple Cobras is actually on the blue side, on the right side of your screen. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, forgetting to change the icons. But Purple Cobras did go with a first ban on Pantheon and a second ban on Nocturne. There was a very, very aggressive Nocturne coming out of Left Hook Larry. I think it's a good ban as well. The Renekton kind of forced for the hand of FSG, as well as the Jax, as well as the Ahri, all kind of 3 picks kind of forced in. And the final pick for Purple Cobras is actually the Morgana.
Yes, it looks like trying to react just a little bit to last game's pick and ban. The Nocturne I'm not very surprised to see, although the Morgana I wouldn't have thought would have been their biggest concern from that game. I would have expected the Talia ban there, or perhaps even the Misfortune.
There was nothing really particularly wrong, I felt like, with Phoenix's play, but there was also not really anything particularly scary at the same time, as both top laners are picked again.
That was a rather interesting move from the side of FSG, first picking the Gangplank, because if you're expecting your opponent to just take a tank into it, as you would have expected them to blind pick to begin with, it's not very scary. But Cinco Gazer choosing to answer it with the Scion, something that can't punish it quite as well as perhaps a Bruiser or a Fighter top laner would have been able to.
Kane's actually picked up on the side of Purple Cobras as well. Potentially another question mark?
More of a comfort pick from the side of Friction, something that he's had success on in the past.
Ooh, there's that Volibear you were mentioning.
Yes,
as well as the Anivia.
Okay, so the Anivia not banned and blind picked on the side of FSG. So they have already a lot of late game scaling built into their kit with the Gangplank and the Anivia. Volibear perhaps here to help them find a little bit more success than they would be able to otherwise in the early game, as Left Hook Larry has had some extremely successful levels 2 to 4 ganks on his Volibear in the past.
And I just love playing and seeing Syndra. Is so much fun, so much interesting when she presses R and then all of a sudden someone dies.
Yes, the gameplay involved there is really quite fascinating.
But
the Misfortune ban coming out from the side of Purple Cobras, I think, is quite smart after how much difficulty they had laning against it last game.
Well, I was just about to say Misfortune can't press R either and just watch people die, as well as Kaisa ban. How do you feel about that?
I don't think Tomato Farmer looked exceptionally comfortable on it, but it is still a rather strong pick. And Kaisa spikes pretty well at 2 to 3 items, so perhaps they're looking to make sure that the enemy team can't just close this game out in the mid game, so that FSG has their time to scale up into the late game.
It's a lot of ADC bans coming out of both teams with no ADCs picked as a Tristana hover for Tomato Farmer.
Yes, perhaps looking to answer the late game from FSG with a late game carry of their own.
Yeah, they do pick up the Tristana, thinking about the Ezreal very quickly, but the Tristana is going to be in, so that means it's going to be a support last pick, unless potentially this is a silent support, but we're probably assuming it's going to Cinco Gazer, as the Quinn is actually picked up for a Snippet, and the Thresh for Phoenix. I hope it's the new skin. Quinn, we've actually been seeing on the rise recently, have we not?
Yes, she was actually hit just a little bit in the last patch, but I do think that her early game will still be just as oppressive as ever, and if she can get some kills in lane against the Tristana and the Blitzcrank, then she can just apply her pressure all over the map.
Yeah, and speaking of Blitzcrank, Desolate Earth is picking a hooking champion into the hook dude himself, Phoenix. Potentially a little bit of a chutzpah coming out of the side of the bot lane of Purple Cobras. But is this the draft that you needed them to pull out in order to get a 1-1 in this best of three?
I think the draft from Purple Cobras is looking a little bit better this time. Friction on his comfort pick, and Friction on a champion that has some burst potential without going into the enemy team to do it. Tomato Farmer, really a lot of the same as with Friction, just maybe a little bit safer, a little bit more reserved this time around, not wanting to go down 0-2.
What is really the win condition for the side of Purple Cobras?
For the side of Purple Cobras, I really think that that you just need to get to the mid to late game, at which point Syndra can start one-shotting people and Tristana can put out a lot of sustained DPS. Although that is a rather similar win condition that FSG is going for. Both teams, aside from the Quinn, perhaps not looking for a whole lot of early game aggression.
So potentially it'd be of a slower game here, which actually we did have a fairly slow game in the previous game, although it started out with a pretty high clip. It just seemed like FSG wanted to just make sure they were dotting their I's and crossing their T's to finish things out.
Yeah, FSG not going for anything incredibly aggressive last game, and I would expect more of the same from this game, just Gangplank and Anivia clearing lots and lots of waves. Very exciting.
I do want to remind you that since this is a clearing game, that you had predicted a 2-1 for the side of Full Send Gaming. And since you're not allowed to amend your pick, are you going to be proven wrong this game with FSG going 2-0? Or is your pick going to be, or your decision going to continue to thrive with Purple Cobras winning this game?
I actually do slightly favor the side of Purple Cobras, although that's to no small extent because Volibear and Quinn can both struggle to have quite the impact in teamfights that they want to, because Volibear can be kited out relatively easily, and Quinn doesn't have quite the sustained DPS that her counterpart Tristana has.
Are you sure you're not just voting for the side of Purple Cobras because you want your prediction to be right?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say I want my prediction to be wrong necessarily, but I really don't like the Volibear and the Quinn in team fights all that much. The Kayn, if he goes into the Rost form, of course, having lots of CC and sustain, and Tristana having some of the best sustained DPS in the game, I think will do them quite a few favors as we get into the mid game and late game of this.
That actually is a good point, and thank you for mentioning it. You're probably looking for Friction to be going Ross, the red Kayn this game, with 3 melees on the side of Full Send Gaming.
I do think that Rost Kayn would be a little bit better for him this time. Trying to go Shadow Assassin into a Volibear that can knock you out of your dash, just to keep you away from his carries. A Quinn, of course, with her Vault, and a Nivea with the immense zoning pressure would be a bit of a nightmare.
All right, that makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you very much for the insight, Mr. Fresh Burger. We will see all of you in just a few moments after a word from our sponsors as we get ready for game number 2. See you guys soon.
My name is Tim Borseth, and I own and operate Games XP in Decorah, Iowa. Games XP is a geek paradise. We carry everything from Pong and Atari all the way to Xbox One and PS4, and all the games that would go with those consoles as well. We also carry a ton of movies. We have handheld games. We have Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. We have D&D and Pathfinder. We carry Warhammer 40K. We have a vintage Star Wars selection. This place is great. My wife and I have had 6 kids, and they are so much fun to work with here at the store. They run the store as much as I do.
And we now repair cell phones, game consoles, computers, and small electronics.
Our store is instant fun. Not only is there cool music and cool stuff to look at, but we have a game room that is so much fun. It's free to play, and you just plug in your game system and enjoy life. The GXPC motto is bringing joy to people's lives through our products, people, and a place to play. So you have got to come to Decorah, Iowa and check out Games XP and experience this geek gaming paradise.
Summoners, welcome to the Rift for game number 2 between Full Send Gaming, Purple Cobras. Purple Cobras down 0-1 in the series. My name's Hickory. By my side, gently as I stroke his hair, is my buddy Fresh Burger, who's going to bring you some ASMR darling analysis as this first level 1. Is it a gank?
Alright, so nothing very interesting happening just yet. Both teams were starting to stack like they did last game and breaking even sooner, although FSG might be looking to... No, they're just placing a word and backing off. Though I would like to note that Thresh, according to your request, has used the brand new skin for him.
Yes, it was actually required in the rules that if he was not to play the new skin with playing Thresh today, he would actually be forced out of the game and be a 4v5 for the side of FSG.
Yeah, so not wanting to take any risks, Phoenix has gone ahead and used the newest Thresh skin to hit the Rift.
It's quite fiery, it's quite fancy. I'm quite jealous, even though I've never played Thresh in my life. I still want it. I crave it, and I need it. And Riot is probably going to get my money one day or another. But nothing too fancy in this level 1 so far. Pretty normal start as we had last game as well. So, do you have a first blood for me prediction, or are we just going to let it see what happens?
It might be too late to make a prediction already. Frisian with the flash going down, and Anivia and Volibear just autoing them to death. My prediction is that Volibear will get first blood on Syndra at about 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
2 minutes and 3 seconds. Well, yep, wow. Flash from Chris Larry pops Frisian up. First blood for Frisian, 2 minutes and 3 seconds. That seemed like a little bit of an unfair advantage, I believe.
Yes, that was a little bit unfair. Perhaps we should have gotten into that sooner.
Flashed on to the side of Frisian, teleport down for Frisian. He's going to be back in lane, not losing too much CS, and the kill did go over to the side of Left Claire as opposed to Chris Meister. Maybe not perfectly positioned, but a level 2 for the side of Tomato Farmer. Desolate Earth does get to the hook onto the tanky Phoenix, who gets a return hook and a flay onto Tomato Farmer. He's going to be forced away, but Snippet is feeling it. He goes forward, the flash forward, the ignite forward, the flash forward as well from Snippet. The kill for Phoenix onto Tomato Farmer. 2 kills up so far for the side of FSG. Good start here for the team that wants to 2-0. Wow.
I must apologize. I think I'm pretty far ahead. What time are you at?
I'm at 2:54, 55, 56.
Alright, I'm at 3:10, 3:11.
Well,
just jump back 15 seconds here, get us matched up a little bit better.
I'd flash away from Chris Meister. He is going to get okay with his passive still up. Friction didn't have to use his flash, though, so trade and flash, at least equal flashes for both mid layers, but no kill coming from the side of Friction to parity.
Alright, I'm at 15. Thank you.
But a little bit more comfortability for the side of Frisian, at least, who is teleport down, though.
Right, so a couple of interesting things that I wanted to note. For the kill bot lane, Quinn taking the phase rush I thought was odd at first over the electrocute, but it did help her keep up with the Tristana, and using her vault to knock Tristana out of her rocket jump was a very well played or very well timed interaction on her part.
So this might be a bit of a practice matchup for Snippet, who's pulling out something pretty. I actually, I like that we've been seeing Quinn more in the ADC role recently. It's pretty interesting. While she, I guess, on paper is amazing, she still seems kind of unique. It's been kind of cool to see her both in pro play and amateur play like this now. I think this is the first Quinn I've seen this season. I'm going to have my stats team check that for me. It's at least the first one that I have casted, but I'm not certain it's the first one that's been played. Hopefully my stats can get back to me here pretty soon. But at any rate,
Yeah,
it
we'll
does
have to
get
see
off to
about
a
that
nice start. Yeah, no, it's off to a nice start as well. But everything seems to be coming down for the time being. You were mentioning that Left Hook Larry might not be extremely aggressive in the first few levels out on Volibear, but so outside of that, level 2 flash gank, which we can but just forget about it for Frisian for the time being. Is he going to
Perhaps for
chill
the
and kind of, you might want to just, pretend it didn't happen. Is Mr. Left Hook Larry just going to kind of relax and farm for the time being? Or is he looking for another a gank here soon?
I think at this exact moment, he's going to want to wait and farm up a little bit. Although he will have to bear in mind that the Kayn can get a farm lead on him quite quickly if he gives him the time to. Perhaps he should look to have an impact on that top lane before Cinco Gazer hits 6.
Would Kayn would probably be able to farm quite a bit faster, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I do believe so.
That is just kind of an assumption of mine. I do not have the statistics to follow up. Maybe actually my stats team can inform me of that as well.
Perhaps.
But actually a great hook onto Phoenix, who does not have his flash, but he's pretty tanky. Doesn't look like Tomato Farmer, Desolate Earth are really trying to go for too much. Maybe just kind of give a little bit of a high and buy with the hook. Just kind of remind the King Phoenix of hooks that there is other people in this league that can hook. He's not the only support killing it right now. But how do you feel? You were kind of mentioning this top lane matchup a little bit. I think you were saying that it was quite... I think you maybe the word you said was brave of Memento to first pick a gangplank, knowing that something like Sion can come out. I believe this one, if you could fill me in.
I don't think Sion would have been what he was worried about picking the gangplank. I think he would have been worried about a little bit more early game aggression coming out from the Cinco Gazer. The Sion is actually a rather favorable matchup for gangplank. Anybody that he can spam his Q on and stay out of range and maybe not get one shot by is pretty good news for gangplank.
Yeah, you want to just kind of sit back and queue. Speaking of queuing, do you like the grasp of the Undying there? As actually all of a sudden Left Hook Larry gets pulled over by Phoenix, who might actually have been kind of left out. He gets hooked back, and all of a sudden a TP from Cinco Gazer comes out of nowhere. Tomato Farmer gets the first kill. He hops back over. A flash forward from Cinco Gazer is going to keep Left Hook Larry in the fight, but he doesn't get out just yet. They are able to run away, disengaged by Memento's ult. Friction coming in, just turning, but a nice one kill for the side of the scaling Tomato Farmer.
Yes, so that was some rather unfortunate timing coming out from the side of FSG, trying to go for a play bot lane just as Sion had already hit 6 and Kayn was also on the bot side, although he didn't end up needing to have an impact there. Though the Thresh and the Volibear just getting too far out ahead of their minion wave and allowing Sion the TP in behind them. And you could see in their movements that they weren't sure what it was that they needed to do, as Thresh kept walking forwards looking for a flay, and Volibear started walking back to try to make his way out.
It looked like Tomato Farmer and Desolate Earth were very, very comfortable in that situation when they were getting engaged upon in the beginning. And nicely done by the side of Purple Cobras, who do need to slow things down. They're only less than a 1 grand down. Nothing too massive at this time. Probably a decent amount of that money is actually on the side of Memento. He's almost 400 gold up on the against his Cinco Gazer, so basically having 2 first bloods for the side of Full Send Gaming, but nothing too massive just yet. Do you start any priority on this dragon though? Or are we still just kind of farming for now?
For now, I think just a little bit more of a farm fest. I'll be interested to see where it is that Quinn chooses to roam to first, now that she is level 6 and has that ultimate. Though she'll probably want to back and pick up a little bit more damage before she
Well, it
goes
is
down.
important to notice that there is not a passive on the Chris Meister. The Almond Trespass does not hit him a little bit. The Almond Trespass does go into left hook Larry, but not enough damage just yet to take him out. But a dash forward Friction gets the kill. A single kill so far of left hook here. A jump for it. All of a sudden, Tomato Farmer has actually rotated. The flash actually from Desolate Earth seemed a little bit weird, but it does hit its mark, forcing the flash from Phoenix as both the mid and jungle on the side of FSG do go down. Friction's here to try and disengage things for Tomato Farmer. Should be okay for now. A nice engagement, a nice punish on the already down passive for Chris Meister.
Yes, just a very opportune target for a gank once Anivia has that passive down. Of course, with her low mobility and perhaps not quite the mana sustain to use that ultimate as much as she'd like to. Left Hook Larry doing his very best to get Chris out, but not quite enough in the end as Anivia walks back into Kane's queue for the kill.
Hopefully, our production crew can actually get us a replay of the bot lane dive. I wanted to see the mid lane fight, actually, because I did notice that Frisian had used his ult when that bot lane dive was going on. The Unleashed Power was down, and that must have been when he was able to pop the Anivia passive, which was then capitalized on just a few seconds later after the really, really nice team play bot lane. Quite a bit better communication so far from the side of Purple Cobras as they've taken not only a kill lead, but also a gold lead here, I believe for the first time in the series.
Yeah, last game they got off to a bit of a rough start with the fight in the bot side river and never managed to recapture the gold lead. So it'll be interesting to see what it is that they're able to do with this lead now that they have it.
Well, speaking of leads, I want to check back in on our viewer votes. The viewers were very, very in the favor of the side of FSG, almost 75% at one point. But as of now, it's 64% for FSG, 36% for Purple Cobras, as Memento is going to have to flash away in the top lane. He's all good. We don't need to worry about him. But it seems like the fan vote is still on the side of FSG, but a little bit more support for Purple Cobras has made their way into the chat. And
yes, and I don't think it's completely unplaced given how the beginning of this game has panned out. Purple Cobras definitely managing to keep themselves safer than last game and look for some rather successful plays.
yeah, and they've definitely. I want to just kind of harken back on their communication, at least from our perspective, that seems to be a little bit more dialed in from what I'm seeing. There was a few plays, a few team fights last game that might not have been the sickest crits on the Rift. But so far, actually very, very well done macro play with the teleport, well communicated with passes being down. And a decent CS lead for the mid laner that is 1-1 right now. He actually had an awful start, remember. He was flashed on by Left Hook Larry to begin the game, and now he's up a kill, he's up CS. He's feeling like he can out-trade on Chris Meister, but it looks like Single Gazer is actually going to get a little bit, maybe bite off more than he can chew. The Humble Trespass does go into Momentum. Memento staying up pretty healthy now, but actually all of a sudden, Frisian comes away, scatters the weak, and gets a kill, and the Unleashed Power is not enough, but the slow from Single Gazer might be just what they need to get Memento. Potentially another kill goes down, and a kill for Frisian. He picks up his second kill of the game as well as an assist. He is well on his way to his first item. Again, well team played by the side of the team that is down 0-1.
Yeah, FSG just biting off a little bit more than they can chew. Left Hook Larry trying to go in to finish off that kill just as support arrived for Cinco and Friction. Just very well played by Frisian there, actually, using the slight advantage that they already had mid lane to gain priority and go for that roam, turning the tides of that fight unmistakably.
If I'm not mistaken, it was FFG that basically started that fight, correct?
Yeah, FSG were the ones that were looking to start things off up there. Although the amount of time that Purple Cobras could delay with the Kane ult and with Sion's repetitive shields and his general tankiness made it difficult for them to close things out.
Well, I'm just feeling that's the second or potentially third time that FSG has been the aggressors here, and things have just horrifically backfired on them. Not even really trades in most cases, just objectively losing multiple kills. It's at least the second time where hopefully their aggression can be either dialed back or just kind of executed a little bit better.
Yeah,
Phoenix.
at this point, you probably just want to wait until the Gangplank and the Anivia have some items and are more of an effect on some of these fights. And you really want to find a way for Quinn to have an impact outside that bot lane, because she is not doing as well in the 2v2 as she was at the beginning of this game.
And unfortunately, the bot lane isn't going too well either, as the first brick does go to the side of Purple Cobras, a little bit north of a 2k gold lead for them, with, once again, let's just check in really quick, only about 100 gold now is the lead for Memento. The hyper-farming Gangplank is only 100 gold ahead of Cinco Gazer, who doesn't have any kills, and is even down on CS. That's just not only is there a gold lead for the side of Purple Cobras, it's very, very well distributed between their players. A Stormrazor picked up for Tomato Farmer, Luden's Echo for Frisian, even a Sunfire Cape for Cinco Gazer is going to be able to bully out. And actually, looks like Memento might be engaged upon here pretty hardly. He is 2v1. He knows he's going down. Unfortunately, he didn't have his flash either. And another kill goes to the side of Tomato Farmer. Pretty rapidly ratcheting up on this hyper carry.
Yeah, no, that's just something you hate to see as a top laner. Not respecting the rotation from the enemy bot lane. You know that your tower's gone down.
Speaking of not respecting rotations, Sniffik just gets absolutely deleted. Walking on wards in the river, he gets picked up by Desolate Earth, and another kill goes the way of Friction, I believe. And all of a sudden, Desolate Earth is in the mid lane. He's been top lane, he's been jungle, he's been mid lane. A good hourglass to delay the inevitable. He might actually get out as well. The passive is pocked as a turret goes down, but wow, Phoenix takes an incredible amount of damage from Frisian. They might still be able to disengage. This unstoppable onslaught all of a sudden comes from their base. Another hook onto Chris Meister. A killing spree for the side of Frisian, who is down 0-1. Cinco Gazer picks up a kill. Tomato Farmer getting a kill as well. No, it's actually picked up by Friction. There was 2-3 players from the side of Purple Cobras behind enemy lines, and they're coming up completely scot-free. A tower went down top lane. They might get a mid lane tower here. They are rapidly increasing their gold lead, rapidly increasing their team play lead. This is an entirely different team from game one.
Absolutely, and FSG just has been caught completely off guard by this sudden string of aggression out of Purple Cobras, not respecting the Blitzcrank that was camped out in their own jungle, who got a pick on the AD carry and then ran it straight mid lane, not realizing that the Scion was in position to ult in from behind. It's an incredibly difficult team to play against once you start to give up a bit of a lead. They just have to find a way to stall this game out at this point, or they will go down rather shortly.
Well, it seems like it's an incredibly hard team to execute on as well, but Purple Cobras has been doing it almost flawlessly at this point. They've given up 2 kills, and that's it. Unfortunately, there is a weird RNG situation where the farther you are ahead, the more Cloud Drakes you seem to get, and the fewer Inferno Drakes you get. The Scout of the Week on to Phoenix is going to be another kill for Frisian. He's on a rampage 17 minutes into the game. He died at level 1, and he is 4-1 on a Syndra that's just going to want to pop people like Phoenix and Snippet all day long. The Rift Herald is going to be started up and probably picked up by the side of Purple Cobras. It doesn't look like Left Hook Larry really wants to contest her. He might not even really be able to at this point. Cinco Gazer level up on his opponent Memento. He's feeling pretty comfortable in this bot lane, but Left Hook Larry's kind of looking this way. He's actually 3 levels down. A flash away Unstoppable Onslaught is not going to get him away. Here comes 4 members to try and deal with Cinco Gazer. They are going to take him down. That's an incredible amount of pressure given up on the map as the Rift Herald is summoned top lane, and with a Tristana, that's going to be a really, really easy tier 2 take in top lane.
Yes, now as FSG...
Oh, a great hook on to Cirrus Meister, Scatter the Weak, and the Unleashed Power blows him up. 5-1 for the this, Cinder. I'm sorry to interrupt. That was a
No, it's
great hook.
perfectly fine. As I was saying, as FSG, you really just have to look for those small plays that you're able to make, but doing so while the enemy team is pressuring 2 lanes at once is just far too many resources allocated to the same place.
Well, you know, speaking of allocated resources, a flash forward is the allocated resource. He does not get the kill just yet, but a hook onto should be his death. Another kill for the side. Actually, Desolate Earth does pick it up. Friction get a little bit too far forward, does end up dying, but the inhibitor turret does go down side of Tomato Fever. Tomato Fever dashes forward, knocks back with the big guns, but it might actually have just killed his support. He does go down. A trade kill, another kill, a shutdown for Friction, fighting off more than they can chew a little bit there.
Yeah, Purple Cobra's just trying to force a little bit too hard. Friction going all the way underneath the Nexus towers, trying to pick up some kills. The rest of the team, having not spent all the gold that they had picked up, just weren't in a position to keep pressuring there.
Oh, actually, ooh, no, he does get away. Interesting little animation there. It almost looked like Snippet had gotten over the wall. I do want to look at the draft again really quickly. Blitzcrank was the last picked up as Unstoppable Onslaught, probably not going to pick out Snippet. Desolate Earth picked up Blitzcrank as the last pick, as Phoenix had already shown Thresh. We know Phoenix to be a demon of a hook champion, particularly on Thresh. He's showing off the fancy new skin today. He picks up so many kills for his ADCs, and Desolate Earth is hooking him time and time again. Desolate Earth does not want anyone in this league to know that he is actually the best hooking support in the game. An unbelievable performance from Desolate Earth. Only 20 minutes into the game, he's 2-1-7. About 3/4 of the kill participation on this Blitzcrank.
Yeah, he has been all over the map so far, just finding picks on unsuspecting FSG members. A large part of which, of course, is because they've had far superior vision control even into FSG's jungle, which is hard for them to contest at this stage of the game, being down almost 7,000 gold.
7,000 gold in 21 minutes is a pretty massive lead. I don't need to check my stats team right now because I know that it's not our largest lead, but it's a very large lead. Nothing to sneeze at right now. It's more, I believe, than the lead of the previous game. Phoenix is going to have to flash away, but a hook doesn't get him just barely. The flash down. Tomato Farmer just dashes forward, loses his mind, but gets away with the heal. But all of a sudden, Left Hook Larry knows exactly where he's going and knocked back on the Friction. He might be left out to try the Humble Trespass on to Phoenix to get some health back. But unfortunately, Chris Meister went a little bit too far forward. His passive is going to get popped. But Left Hook Larry has still not got down. He's actually very tanky at this point in the game. Gets a kill on Friction. Wow, a great scout of the Reek to potentially disengage. But unfortunately, Syngazer is not going to be disengaged with them. Desolate Earth did actually pick up a kill on Memento. Not sure how that one happened. Finally, a hook coming back for Phoenix. But Phoenix might have just killed himself with his own hook. Maybe he's getting a little bit sad by not hitting his enough hooks. A hook does go wide for Desolate Earth. Friction is very low on health here. That's an extremely speedy Snippet trying to catch up to them. Let's see if they can get away. They do get away. A pretty hectic team fight.
Yeah, no, you just have to wonder what it was going through Tomato Farmer's head. Perhaps he thought that the enemy team's attention was elsewhere, but jumping onto an Anivia ult on an Anivia who had passive with no real way to get back out afterwards.
Yeah, hopefully our production can get a replay of that team fight, at least the beginning. Looked like there was an instant stun from Chris Meister. I mean, he was maybe not waiting for it, but instantly reacted to it and knew what was going on. He very interesting play from Tomato Farmer, who did have a bit of an aggressive play as well in the previous game. Oh, that's some aggression right there from Desolate Earth. A little bit of disrespect as he just stands there and waits for the kill to go over to the side of Friction, a shutdown on the Snippet, who might have been a little bit out of position there, but he probably feeling a little bit comfortable as the speedy Quinn.
Right, probably not expecting quite so much movement speed coming out of the Blitzcrank with Moby Boots, Righteous Glory, and of course his W for the speed boost.
Even flash.
Very difficult to expect there, yes. So Quinn actually for once being the one getting run down by the enemy team.
Yeah, and Quinn could have run Friction down only a few moments before, but he decided not to be too aggressive for it. There's actually a lot of vision here. Not actually, there has been great vision for the side of Full Send Gaming all series long. They are very comfortable in knowing that this Baron is going to be started anytime soon, but they are down 3 dragons at this point, 2 clouds, 1 ocean. I don't think Chris Meister has his ult. He's just going to get instantly deleted by Desolate Earth. Probably would have rather to kill to go to someone else, because that's a 4-1-9 Blitzcrank. Is this solo queue? I'm not certain yet. But speaking of the vision control, it doesn't really matter if you can see what's going on, if there's nothing you can really do. The cannon barrage to potentially dissuade them, but Cinco Gazer just says, I'll fight you, I don't care, I have 2 items, come at me. Friction is still on the Baron, taking a lot of damage actually so far. He's pretty low. He's gonna have to wall walk as a hook goes wide on a Phoenix, but a Flay isn't gonna keep him alive very well. Umbra Trespass onto Snippet, might take him out pretty easily. Snippet does go down to Tomato Farmer actually. Tomato Farmer getting a pretty easy kill, returns back to this fight. Unfortunately, Memento goes down. He's very, very low. Left Hook Larry is the only man left standing in the sea of red. Nearly a perfect ace for this side of Purple Cobras. 0 for 4 as they start up the Baron completely uncontested. There is no smite. There is only Chris Meister on the side of full FSG. He's kind of looking this way, but I can't imagine he's going to be able to stop it too very well, as the Baron is going to be easily picked up by the side of Purple Cobras. Over a 10k gold lead now in their pockets.
Yeah, FSG attempting to keep closing this gold gap the same way that they had already started coming back, just taking some rather scrappy fights and punishing mistakes, but that time, with Chrismeister being out of the equation before the fight even started, just collapsing under the pressure that Purple Cobras were putting on them, and now being down very, very close to 10,000 gold. You have to wonder what it is that they're going to even be trying to do at this point.
Well, speaking of that 10,000 gold, this is a completely different look from the previous game. It was actually FSG who was actually easily dominating the first few minutes of the game. They had a very comfortable lead and just slowly, calmly, and in a macro sense, just kind of closed out the game. And Purple Cobra was just kind of nowhere the whole time. And this is kind of a complete reversal. Maybe it's the red side buff, but Purple Cobras now has the massive lead. Now they're crushing. They have the hooking champion on point. Phoenix really nowhere to be seen. Memento is trying to split push in the top lane. That's going to be a free mid inhibitor for the side of Purple Cobras. We'll see if they want to push any farther or if they're taking it slow. Cinco Gazer is in the bot lane, taking out the tier 2 turret. They're playing it slow. They're playing it smart. They've been playing a macro heavy, a team-oriented game all game long. There's no reason to push things too far. A hook on to Chris Meister. He immediately flashes away. He does get out of there. Another hook for Desolate Earth is incredible. Phoenix does get a hook on a Cinco Gazer, but he's a tanky boy. He does actually have to flash away over the wall, though, which might dissuade the rest of this push for a few moments.
Yeah, Scion not having the Warmugs yet, or even building into it just yet, perhaps no longer quite able to frontline for them in these sieges, but Purple Cobras don't seem to care very much.
Yeah, but they're fighting inside of an Anivia ult, as he's going to keep Friction alive, just barely flashing away. Friction picking up his 8th kill of the game. This is almost a reversal of the previous game as well. Friction was nowhere to be found, where Chris Meister ended up 12-1 playing Talia. Friction, he's taking a few more kills. Deaths is doing incredibly well on this Syndra. A lot of pressure coming from the mid laner on the red side. A hook does hit on Memento. Almost looks like it went wide. Friction blows him up with a Scout of the Week. Very, very easy pickup for the incredibly strong Syndra, as the bot lane inhibitor does go down. No deaths on the side of Purple Cobras just yet. They actually haven't died since well before even picking up the Baron. Still only at 9 deaths for at least 4 minutes now. Probably about the rest of their Baron, but they have a bunch of money thrown into their pockets to buy up a few winning items.
Absolutely, just lining their pockets a little bit more before going for the final push. You have to imagine that it'll come soon. Perhaps they'll take a dragon first, maybe look to get some more pressure in the top lane, because of course in mid and bot lane they don't have the super minions. But FSG not playing that defense as well as they probably could have. Memento trying to pick up some of the standing gold in the top lane, but losing his inhibitor at the same time that he was taking that tier 1 tower up there. And of course, just more beautiful hooks from Desolate Earth coming out.
Would his presence maybe have turned the tides a little bit? Memento, that is.
I don't think they would have necessarily turned the tides, but Gangplank's barrels are quite effective in clearing waves, and I think he could have stalled them out a little bit more.
A hook and a flay on a Cinco Gazer. He's actually stopped by the ice wall, but a hook back onto Memento. That's a least power onto him. Frisian is just dominating as Left Hook Larry trying to tank for his team, but he does go down to the side of Desolate Earth. Quinn died to dead. Snippet is dead to Tomato Farmer is what I'm trying to say. Excuse me. The third tower in the top lane does go down. The inhibitor does go down. Tomato Farmer's been feeling it all game. He's feeling it even more. He might die here. A shutdown for the side of Chris Meister, but it might be a little bit too late. A Scout of the Week does stun onto him. They're just style pointing now. They're getting their KDA. They are reminding NFG that last game was just a fluke. This is a 1-1 series. This is a tied series. Tied teams. Very equal, very strong players on both sides. We are going to game 3. We finally have a series on our hands.
Yeah, Purple Cobra's putting on an extremely impressive performance in this particular game. Desolate Earth really swinging things with the Blitzcrank. You have to imagine that'll draw a ban for the next game in order to avoid a repeat performance.
Well, we did assume that Talia would get banned. It was left up, and it wasn't picked.
That's true. Perhaps teams not quite agreeing with the casters here on what it is that they need to be scared of.
I mean, why are they not playing with the stream open and unmuted with a without 3-minute delay? I mean, that's dumb of them to not be watching the stream.
They should be taking their cues from us so that we get to look better.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I say that I want to see Frisian flash forward and get a Scout of the Week kill, he should be doing it within, 10, 15 seconds. Speaking of Frisian, by the way, 28,000 damage in 29.54 minutes. He actually had a higher damage per minute count than the side of Chris Meister, although a slightly lower KDA at 10, 2, and 11.
Right. Syndra just able to pump out that damage in that game. And FSG really struggling to figure out what it was that they need to go for, getting an early lead in the mid lane for an Anivia who's really not able to push that lead as hard as you would like to see. And not really finding anything massive in other lanes other than an assist for the Quinn early on, which was quickly outpaced by the enemy bot lane.
Yeah, that level 1 looks so good, but hopefully a better level 1 can come out of the side of FSG next game. We'll have to find out in a few minutes as we're going to go to a break before the third and final draft. Every story has an ending, every fairy tale a conclusion. This grudge match between Full Send Gaming and Purple Cobras is at 1-1, which means that it will end in a daydream for one team and desolation for the other. A lot of the fans have been behind FSG, but they did lose that previous game. Purple Cobras has the momentum behind them. Can they pull it back now, Mr. Freshburgers?
I think that both teams have a very, very serious, at least a serious claim to this series, because they've had an impressive performance in one of the two matches that's happened so far. I have to wonder, is it Red Side that gives one of the teams an advantage because of the counterpick specifically, or is it just that Purple Cobras managed to find themselves a better team comp in the last game, based around getting some picks with that Blitzcrank and the Scion ult and the Syndra ult?
Well, I would easily say that Chris Meister on the Talia was the man of the first match, where Desolate Earth was probably the man of the match in the second match on Blitzcrank, and both of those were the counter picks on the side of Red.
Indeed, although let's not, of course, ignore Frisson putting out an insane amount of damage on that Syndra. The mid lane matchup seeming to be quite volatile, and maybe a bit of a swing point in the series.
That means we need an Akali versus Zed.
That would be very interesting. I'm expecting Red Side of FSG to save their counter pick for the mid lane, try and get that advantage back in their favor for this final game 3.
Well, folks, for this final game, do not forget to vote in the chat. Let us know who you think's gonna win, who you have faith in the most. It's 1-1, so it could be a game now. Hit the straw poll, hit the votes, tell us what you think. We're gonna find out here soon, as Pantheon is banned once again for the side of Purple Cobras, Renekton for the side of Full Send Gaming, another Nocturne ban for Purple Cobras. It felt pretty comfortable, and another Jax ban for the side of Full Send Gaming.
Both teams just running back their bans from the previous game. FSG knowing exactly what it is that they're scared of from this top jungle duo of Purple Cobras, and Purple Cobras, of course, having won last game, no particular reason to change up their bans just yet.
Yes, exactly the same bans on both sides. Are we getting the same draft? Is it gonna happen?
I wouldn't expect it to happen, although I wouldn't be surprised at this point if the Scion were picked yet again for Cinco Gazer. He has been looking to be quite comfortable on that pick.
Yeah, win or lose, he's been a very solid front line for the side of Purple Cobras. He is going to run it back for the third time this series. And potentially, actually, the Ornn comes back for Memento. He was not feeling the Gangplank at all last game. The Braum was left up for the side of Phoenix,
right,
who he doesn't want to hook this game. He might be a little bit embarrassed.
Yes, his Thresh appearing to not be quite the strong pocket pick that he was hoping for in the last game, taking the Braum before it was banned away in the second rotation, I think, in the first game, this time not wanting to let it fall into Purple Cobra's hands or allowing them to ban it away. Yeah,
but splitting the bro duo of Lucian and Braum up was pretty nice. Well decided, on the side of Purple Cobras, as Tomato Farmer is going to see that Lucian, as well as Frisian back on the Syndra, and another misfortune for the side of Snippet. A lot of the kind of same picks and bans throughout this series. Interestingly enough, no one's really seemed particularly bad on any of their picks. They've all seemed very, very comfortable, well played. Remember that Snippet played a misfortune into an extremely tanky composition last time, which maybe made his bullet times a bit less impactful than he probably wanted. The Alistar is banned for the side of Full Send Gaming, as the Anivia is banned for Purple Cobras, interestingly.
Yeah, Full Send Gaming just wanting to make sure that the Lucian doesn't have a lane partner that will let him dominate that bot lane. And Purple Cobras perhaps just wanting to take away a little bit from the teamfight AoE power that would have been given over had they allowed FSG to take Misfortune and Anivia.
Well, I was just about to say, I hope Chris Meister gets the Talia then.
Yeah, but
unfortunately,
Purple Cobra is not looking forward to facing that one again. Going to go ahead and focus both of their bans on the mid lane, allowing Left Hook Larry to take his pick of the remaining junglers.
And they still actually have I was about to say they still have the counter pick for left hook Larry.
Right, of course, because having taken the mid lane in the first rotation on the side of Purple Cobras, FSG already has the counter pick on that. No need to save it for last.
So all we're missing is a jungler support for the side of Purple Cobras. What do you see? What do you want without seeing anything just read? What do you want for the jungler for left hook Larry, who's been a catalyst for the side of Holstein Gaming so far?
I think that the Volibear would be a fine pick for him again. He has shown to have some very good early games on it. It was just the beginning of the mid game where his entire team seemed to falter as one that he started to fall pretty far behind in the previous game.
He got first blood last game.
Yes, I think you could pick Volibear. He always seems to have a very strong start to the game on Volibear. I wouldn't mind seeing him pull it out again.
We're going to have the stats team check about how many first bloods left hook Larry has actually been able to pick up. He's got 2 just this series. I'm wondering how many he has this season. He could be a Yankos-esque king of first blood on the side, or for the league itself. But let's pick up a Rengar, actually. Potentially going to get a first blood there as well, up against the Xin Zhao, who made away with the bank here, Mr. Berger.
Personally, I really like the side of FSG, perhaps minus the jungle pick. Everybody else on that side looks to have a very strong team fight, while on the side of Purple Cobras, Xin Zhao a little bit more of a duelist, Lucian stronger in lane than he is in team fights at the moment, in my opinion. Misfortune's bullet time perhaps going to outclass him as far as that is concerned.
So you had Full Sun Gaming as the 2-1 win this series. That was your original prediction. I'm holding you to it. There's no way you can get away from it. So how are they going to do it with the Ornn Rengar already Misfortune Prob? They do have the ball delivery with Rengar himself.
Right. I think that all they really need to do is find one solid ultimate, an Orianna ult into a Braum, or perhaps a long range Ornn engage into Rengar jumping in with the Orianna ball on him. And of course, any of these combinations followed up by the Misfortune, they have quite the strong wombo combo potential for FSG. I think if Purple Cobras want to win this one, they're going to have to put on quite a dominant performance in the lane phase.
Oh, I'm looking this even more. We have Call of the Forge God, we have Shockwave, we have Bullet Time, we have Glacial Fissure. That is such a wombo combo. Why are you not so hyped about this, Fresh Burger? It's game 3. This is the grudge match to decide second place in the league right now. One team really could start stepping ahead of the pack. I'm a really big fan of cycling. And there's the Peloton, which is just kind of the main group, the pack. There's the people out in front, which need not be named currently. But there's also the rest of the people in the Peloton that have a lot of energy. There's more kinetic energy in the main group than there is out in the front because you're by yourself. You have wind drag, as well as there's not as much kinetic energy way in the back in the trail in the chase because you're trying to get up to the Peloton. So teams like Purple Cobras, teams like Full Send Gaming that are solidly in the Peloton, the center of the pack, have so much more that they can gain, so much more that they can lose, that they're very, very hungry to pick up a few wins, hungry to kind of push things forward as the rest of the weeks pass by. We are looking still towards playoffs, and from the standings currently, there are 5 free and open slots for the playoffs, potentially 6, depending on the way things go.
Absolutely. I think Full Send Gaming, who has been on an upswing recently, if they win this game, they will have a very, very strong shot at making it into the playoffs, perhaps even in one of the top 2 or 3 seeds.
Well, that's exactly what I mean with the Peloton. You have so much towards the end of the race, which can be about 3 hours. You shoot forward, catch up to the leaders in a chase group, and sometimes you can actually even overtake them. Any closing thought before we get into the game, though?
I just think it'll be very interesting to see how this one plays out with prowess of the Xin Zhao, as well as the extremely potent bot lane duo of Lucian Leona stacking up against the team fighting comp from Full Send Gaming. Whatever happens, it's going to be a very spicy game 3.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I do like Xin Zhao a lot. We haven't even talked about him yet. We can get into him when we get into the game. So do not touch your browser. Do not go anywhere. It's game 3. It's hype time. We will see you after a word from our sponsors.
My name is Tim Borseth, and I own and operate Games XP in Decorah, Iowa. Games XP is a geek paradise. We carry everything from Pong and Atari all the way to Xbox One and PS4, and all the games that would go with those consoles as well. We also carry a ton of movies. We have handheld games. We have Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. We have D&D and Pathfinder. We carry Warhammer 40K. We have a vintage Star Wars selection. This place is great. My wife and I have had 6 kids, and they are so much fun to work with here at the store. They run the store as much as I do.
And we now repair cell phones, game consoles, computers, and small electronics.
Our store is instant fun. Not only is there cool music and cool stuff to look at, but we have a game room that is so much fun. It's free to play, and you just plug in your game system and enjoy life. The Game XP motto is bringing joy to people's lives through our products, people, and a place to play. So you have got to come to Decorah, Iowa and check out Games XP and experience this geek gaming paradise.
You are sitting at your computer, your headphones on, blasting your favorite K-pop song. You're on your #1 pick champion throughout the season because it's game 3 between your arch nemesis. You are ready to take the 2-1 victory. But Freshburgers, who are you? Are you Purple Cobras or are you Full Send Gaming?
I think I'm full send gaming in this particular matchup. I do really, really like the team fighting combo they have. They could probably fall behind 1, 2, 3,000 gold and not have to worry about it because of their team fighting ability in this game.
Well, we actually have seen both teams fall about that much behind in the early game, and then things kind of just fall apart from there. So it might actually be kind of interesting to see one of them be just a little bit behind and then turn it around because, well, the snowballs haven't been Nunu sized. They've been pretty aggressive for both teams after they get an early lead. There's not a level 1 shenanigans whatsoever this game, even though there is a Braum on the side of Full Send Gaming. Interestingly enough, one of the scariest level 1 champions leads to the least amount of level 1 groupings.
Yeah, neither team actually choosing to pull the trigger in any of these games on that level 1 invade. Perhaps just trying to hedge their bets a little bit and relying on what their team comp specifically is able to do better.
Well, the pressure is definitely on when it comes to the third game. The first game in the series is less pressured. For instance, in the LCS, Cloud9 might play someone like Golden Glue in the first game of a best of 5 versus TSM, as opposed to the second or third game because of the lower pressure in a best of 5. But now we're in the third game of a best of 3. The pressure's on. It's do or die. You might not want to be pulling out anything too crazy that it could work or it could go horribly. We did see Friction kind of show his face on Chris Meister in the mid lane while I was just chatting away, and he did blow a smite. A flash is actually what Chris Meister has.
Yeah, Xin Zhao's level 2
much.
ganks being quite well known and feared throughout all players.
Oh, wow. Great dashboard from Desolate Earth. He's going to get an incredible amount of damage on to Snippet. The Zenith Blade hit him perfectly. Flash away from Snippet was all it took to keep him alive, but that is a flash down for literally nothing on the side of Purple Cobras.
Yeah, Purple Cobras doing a very good job already in this game, keeping the pressure up on their opponents and burning some of their summoners for very little or if not nothing in return.
Speaking of burning summoners, Frisian does have his flash up, but he chooses not to use it. Very, very calm. He does use it actually in the last second as Left Hook Larry is forced to back away. Summoners burn on both sides of the map, but definitely more burnt for FSG so far, but you were saying that FSG might be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit behind for the first few seconds of the game.
Yes, and something rather important to note is that although Xin Zhao has an extremely strong early game, Left Hook Larry, realizing that he had gone to the bottom side, heads to Friction's top side jungle and takes away his blue buff and his Grump, just looking to slow down that early game speed of Xin Zhao's a little bit.
And that feels really, really awful as any down just a single buff. Your ramp up speed to level 4, 5, and 6 just becomes so much slower. He was able to pick up, he as in Friction, was able to pick up one of the Rift Scuttles, but not the other. So okay on the experience so far, but it can get out of hand pretty quickly
Right,
for
but his
Left Hook
pathing
Larry.
now is extremely difficult because if you look at the map, all of his topside camps were just taken by one side or the other, and he'd already left his Krugs, excuse me, up on the bottom side as his only remaining camp, so he has to recall and walk all the way down before he can continue his path.
I'm going to check his experience really quick. He should be able to hit level from Krugs here, but it's going to take a lot of his health away pretty hard, and Memento's really, really low here, but he should be able to Searing Charge away just in time. Oh, takes the last bit of the Decimating Smash, but he is okay.
Yes.
Memento looked a little bit
interesting-
stronger earlier, did he not?
Hmm?
Well, I mean, in the first time that this mashup happened, I feel like Memento was the one making the trades, wasn't he?
Yes, that was actually something that I wanted to touch on. If you take a look at the top lane matchup, Cinco Gazer switched from Glacial Augment to Grasp of the Undying for this game, and Memento has switched from Minion Dematerializer to perhaps the Time Warp Tonic as a secondary. I didn't actually get to see which tree he went to.
Well, we're going to see if the Biscuits do come out. That'll probably belie us with the Searing Charge trade as well, but there's actually hiding in a bush in the bot lane. He's waiting. He's patient. He's calm. He's a Pokemon monster waiting for you to jump your face into the bush and pop out at you. Nothing just yet. There's actually a lot of time being used down here in the bot lane as the top laners are kind of smacking each other with some wet noodles. And it's been 30 plus seconds. The friction has been in the bot lane. We need to see a Zenith Blade come out from Desolate Earth, but nothing just yet. Zenith Blade does go on to Snippet. He doesn't have flash dash forward from Friction. Not going to be enough just yet, but there's first blood for the side of Tomato Farmer. Cleanly taken. No deaths on the side of Purple
Yes,
Cobra.
Snippet having already burned the flash in the 2 versus 2, they knew that...
Ooh, that actually might be a kill top lane as well. The unending charge, excuse me, the charge forward. The Single Gazer actually does have to flash forward, but he might trade a kill here. Memento very nicely pays the favor with a kill traded. I'm sorry, what was that got like? Oh, a Zenith Blade actually forward. A stun might go up on to Desolate Earth, but I'm not sure Left Hook Larry wants to go for it just yet. But wow, that's a man of Tomato Farmer. But here comes a full house Snippet. Not sure we want to go any farther.
Anyway, the teams are deciding to calm down just a little bit now. All I was saying about the bot lane is that Snippet having the flash burned in the 2 versus 2 earlier in the game meant that they knew if Desolate Earth managed to land just a single Zenith Blade onto him, he would go down to Friction, who wasn't really losing anything by being in the bot lane because none of his camps were up at the time, having all been taken quite recently by one jungler or the other.
Yeah, that's true. If you take all of your opponent's jungles away, what are they going to do other than gank your laners? But we do know these teams to be extremely slow-paced and very not really wanting to fight very much. But you and I were actually talking during the break about our production crew producing replays for us. We might be missing a few extra replays during the replay analysis itself, as these teams very, very much want to go in and out of each other.
Just some non-stop action coming out from these teams, always looking to see how far they can push whatever small leads they've already found.
I can't believe I just said that. A little bit of a discrepancy in lane for Chris Meister. What's up with that? We've been seeing these two battle it out quite a lot.
I think the Orianna is just a very safe pick in the early game that is able to farm up quite effectively, shove lanes when necessary, and Friction perhaps just not quite as comfortable against it as the weak early game of Anivia.
Well, the Ornhorn is dropped because there's no Anivia game. Memento doesn't have a lot of damage just yet to see if the Relentless Assault is going to knock him up, but the Searing Charge is going to be last there. My god, he doesn't go down! Oh shit! Cinco Gazer does get the kill just barely, even though it was Memento that was the one that engaged that fight. You are the resident top laner. What just happened there is there might be a fight bot lane. There's no flash on the side of left hook Larry. He gets thrown into the wall by Frisian. A nice kill picked up. The culling hits into Brahm's shield. Should be about the end of that play.
Yeah, Memento just not quite able to get off his W auto attack quickly enough. Still taking the damage from Cinco Gazer's Q.
Well, not Cinco Gazer, but Friction and company, Tomato Farmer in particular, really want to keep this game speed going. Friction's still going forward under the tower. He does not die, but unfortunately Left Hook Larry is there with the Bola to take him out. But that's a lot of tower damage on the top lane, as Cinco Gazer has been solo after the solo kill, now 2 levels up.
Yeah, Cinco Gazer with a change in runes from game 1, capable of exerting much more dominance than he was before in this top lane matchup, and really showing how comfortable he is on that Scion pick.
Could this have been a similar situation in the first game because of Grassland dying, or is he just a little bit more calm, a little bit more ready to play in the match, a little level-headed?
Well, I think the Grasp does make a pretty significant difference in that, as you can see, Memento's been struggling to find the damage to actually finish him off, which of course is something that Glacial Augment doesn't really cause. All it does is slow down your opposing laner. Grasp just giving him that extra little bit of sustain he needed.
There's actually an unstoppable onslaught in the mid lane, but back, and a little bit of an interesting play there from Cinco Gazer as we were just singing his praises.
Yeah, perhaps thinking that Oriana's flash was down, going underneath the tower, fully expecting to land that ultimate, and he was just not able to do so once Grizz flashed to the side.
Well, his flash was down as well, was it not? As Memento wants to dashing forward, misses the Ornn horn. Both mid laner and top laners really wanting to get mid lane going.
Yeah, both top laners wanting to have an impact on the mid lane, but not quite using their ults to their full effectiveness, unfortunately.
Did he think he had his flash up, maybe?
Chrismeister?
Cinco Gazer. Because he should have known. He would have known that he was going under at some point, right?
Yeah, I really think that all he needed to take into account was that Chris was going to have his flash up, and if he used it to dodge the Scion ultimate, he should perhaps try and move into the enemy jungle instead of canceling his ultimate underneath tower. Really just putting himself in an extremely unfavorable situation.
Just kind of keep going forward and help you make it make your way out.
Right. I mean, being almost anywhere else is preferable to being stuck in no man's land underneath an enemy turret with no minions. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, there was no Tom Cruise to save Private Cinco Gazer there. So it will be a trade kill. But you know what? Friction is in the bot lane once again. And he was happy to spend time last time. But last time, as you pointed out, he had very few camps up. So he is going to have to bail out a little bit earlier this time. Left Hook Larry might be looking for something mid.
Left Hook Larry using the ultimate on mid lane, but really Friction just playing much too safe at the moment to warrant that gank.
Well, he actually is engaging onto Frisian right now, who pops his stopwatch, flashes away, not enough damage following up. There's no mana for Chrismeister. All of a sudden, Friction has made his way. He's a level down, but he might be able to get this kill on Left Hook Larry. Let's see if he goes any further. He doesn't have his flash up just yet. Another traded kill for Chrismeister, but all of a sudden, Desolate Earth Solar flares him down, and Chrismeister is shut down by the Leona support.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit too familiar of a situation for this series. Both teams getting a little bit overconfident around the mid lane. Frisian stepping close to a bush that had Left Hook Larry in it. Left Hook Larry moving too close to Purple Cobra's tower. And then, of course, Desolate Earth managing to come in to clean up Chrismeister after Friction decided to go on the aggressive and take a few tower shots too many.
Yeah, it's almost as if these teams are more worried about putting on a show than really winning. Maybe there's a script here somewhere that I haven't been able to read just yet. But things are incredibly equal this game. By this time of the previous games, there had been a 1 to even 3,000 gold lead for either team. There have been towers down. Now, in this game, there is very low towers, but there's only one Ocean Drake for the side of Purple Cobras and a okay 1,000 gold lead.
Yeah, 1,000 gold not really going to add up to very much just yet. And the Ocean Drake perfectly fine for getting a little bit more lane dominance, but not all that much else unless they try to force a siege later into the game.
Well, you can't really siege too well when you're smacking into each other in the top lane. These two really like to duke it out. I feel like more than really any of the other laners, they have just been smacking at each other constantly. Yes, no, maybe so. Do you like it more? Do you like it less? Do you want to just kind of sit and farm? I personally just kind of like to chill and farm. Are you one of the kind of bruisers?
I think that looking for some of these trades is perfectly fine, especially from the side of Memento at this point, because if you take a glance at Cinco Gazer's items, he's up against an Ornn who does...
Not a lot of damage. As the tower does go down, he might be left to die here, unfortunately. Very nice rotation from Friction, very cleanly dove as well, as the tower is only about 500, 600 health. First brick picked up for the side of Purple Cobras, but a mid lane turret is picked up for the side of NFG to kind of equalize things out.
Yeah, the jungle is just picking different lanes to go to, and we now see the teleport from Cinco Gazer coming in behind the mid and jungle and mid lane.
He does have an unstoppable onslaught on the way. He pops it, does not get onto Christmeister, flashes away very, very well, but now he has no flash for the Friction's ult, for Desolate's ult, and to flash away from Left Hook Larry, but that's not really anywhere he can go. Left out to dry as well. A double kill for Friction, who's all of a sudden 3 and 2 here, but whoa, where did Tomato Farmer come from? He's actually going to dash away very, very nicely. He might go down with the Ignite. He uses heal, a triple kill for the side of Friction. Friction all just ratcheting up the kills really, really rapidly. 12 to 5 all of a sudden. This 1k gold lead is ballooned to a 3k gold lead with the first turret blood and a little bit of an overstay from the side of Full Send Gaming.
Yeah, Full Send Gaming looking to answer the first tower taken in the top lane with one of their own in the mid lane, but pushing far too long onto the second tier tower and giving Cinco Gazer and Friction time to collapse on them all the way from top lane.
Yeah, with that extra collapse, they're able to pick up the mid lane tier 1, pick up the Rift Herald, which could be another turret, only 16 minutes into the game. A Dragon's coming up in 1 minute. Maybe they want to drop the Herald and go to the Dragon, or they can do whatever they want. They've taken a solid, but not massive, lead in the early parts of this game.
Yeah, Purple Cobra's almost looking to have a similar performance to last game, in that they just roam all over the map, finding picks anywhere that they can, and FSG not playing quite respectful enough of Friction and Desolate Earth's engage potential.
Well, respect is an interesting, it's a good word. I like that because there is not a lot of respect given to the side of Purple Cobras by most of the analysts, by most of the fans. Almost everyone I talked to, everyone I heard from, at least 60% actually of the fans were on the side of Full Send Gaming. But Purple Cobras is comfortably, not winning yet, but comfortably in a lead in this third game. Maybe they're trying to prove some of their doubters wrong. Remember that this is a grudge match between these two equidistant teams that, as we mentioned earlier, can really start to move up the ladder pretty hard with a win here. Respect is an interesting word, and I like that you use it. Respect is not given; it is definitely earned. For instance, I believe Desolate Earth earned a lot of respect from his counterpart Phoenix last game as he smashed with the Blitzcrank. We're gonna have to see what the respect is from either team this game, as things are actually quite a bit calmer now in these middle kind of minutes of the game.
Yeah, both teams just trying to find their footing here and figure out what exactly it is that they want to go for next. Purple Cobra starting to group up in the bot lane with the Herald, perhaps going to drop it, definitely looking to pick up this tier 1 tower.
Yeah, the tier 1 tower is less than a third health. They do drop the Rift Herald, and all of a sudden, guys are coming back once again. Remember, the turret does go down, a pop onto the Syndra is Left Hook Larry, but he goes down in trade as well. But Tomato Farmer has a lot of kills here. He has a lot of damage coming out. So does Friction. Friction pulls out a Rampage, and Tomato Farmer pulls out a double kill, a 1 for 3 so far, as the Bullet Time trying to disengage the rest of this fight. A dash forward with the Zenith Blade from Desolate Earth. He flashed for that. Desolate Earth is tired of hearing Phoenix's name called out in strong supports. He is showing a great series so far. The Rift Herald has one more charge in her left. Shelly smacks her face into the Tier 3 turret. Tier 3 turret going down at 18 minutes and 43 seconds. The Zenith Blade does miss for Desolate Earth. Not a kill onto Snippet, but Snippet does go down. Picks him up. Tomato Farmer has an incredible amount of damage on him. The inhibitor goes down 52 seconds into the game. 35,000 gold to 28,000 gold. What just happened?
Really just FSG not showing quite enough consideration for the angle that Cinco Gazer could ult in from, getting themselves caught out in the bot lane. Left Hook Larry diving in the middle of the enemy team, getting himself killed, and Memento being picked off before the rest of FSG fell in turn.
Would you say they were not potentially respecting an unstoppable onslaught from? As the unleashed power for Frisian isn't kill. Maybe not a lot of respect here as well. Does go down, but
Left Hook Larry showing why the Rengar was picked up for him.
He has gotten quite a few kills on it, but unfortunately each kill kind of seems like a trade kill.
Yeah, Left Hook Larry has been doing a decent job of picking up kills, but always in response to one or more of his teammates dying, and in this particular case, going down himself.
Him going down as well is going to lead to the Tier 2 mid lane falling. Only 19 minutes and 50 seconds or so in the game. An incredible surge of gold has popped into the side of Purple Cobras. I'm not sure they've actually really spent most of this gold just yet. Have they even reset on most of their carries? Yes and no, kind of across the board. 5-0 is Tomato Farmer this game. Yeah. Silently really becoming scary.
Yeah, the bot lane and the jungle from Purple Cobras working together very well this game, looking to push their lead through to a 2-1 victory over FSG. We'll have to see if they can continue their show of dominance into the mid game. But they are up almost 9,000 gold just past 20 minutes. Such an explosion in this gold lead.
And actually, interestingly, the gold lead, if my can double check, has gone up each 20 minutes. I believe it was like a 6K, then a 7K, and now a 9K gold lead at the 20-minute mark for each of these teams, which is interesting because it almost seems like each game has been slower and slower and more calculated as we've gone on in the series.
In the very early game, perhaps, but as soon as we start getting closer to the mid lane or the mid game, teams. Well,
the mid lane does have a fight breaking out. A big shockwave rush onto the tanks, but the Zenith Blade might get a root up here, but a shutdown for Phoenix and a trade kill actually for Desolate Earth. But unfortunately, Snippet does go down. All of a sudden, Tomato Farmer was just in the middle of the team. I didn't even see him. A double kill for the extremely strong Lucian. Where did he come from? He was nowhere.
Yeah, Lucian working his way forward in the team fight, trying to follow up on his support's engage and eventual death, doing quite a good job of that. Now looking to fall back towards the Baron, the remaining 4 members of Purple Cobras.
So this is definitely not as tanky of a team from Purple Cobras that Snippet played his MF into previous game, but he's 0-4 right now. Where has Snippet been as a pretty hard carry in the previous games?
Well, he was a hard carry in the first game, but last game as well as this game, it seems as though he's having difficulty figuring out where exactly it is that he needs to be when, and finding some advantages. Last game as the Quinn, not finding any successful roams and not having an impact in team fights. This game, just being shut down by this Leona and the Xin Zhao jumping onto him all the time.
Yeah, Desolate Earth really has had the number of both Phoenix and Snippet all series. But for Snippet, for Phoenix, for the crew of Full Send Gaming, it's not over yet. You are behind, but the game still has time to be played out. You can still come back. How do you come back?
At this point, really every time you hit an item power spike, it's going to be pretty huge for you. I think finish that Black Cleaver onto the Misfortune, perhaps get some more MR onto this Ornn, who so far has just been stacking up armor and a little bit of HP. And you really just have to try to pull off that wombo combo as effectively as you can. onto either the Syndra or the Lucian, take out some of their backline damage, and then take the fight from there.
Well, the Wombo combo is scary. And we're having-
Absolutely. I think that the Rengar and the Orianna have enough damage together that they could probably take out one of the enemy team's carries in a single combo from each. It's
But
just
are they
a matter of
conceding
finding
too
the way
much
onto them.
here? They can't find their way onto him at all, but another inhibitor goes down in the top lane. Has too much been given, or are they just waiting it out?
I think that they're treading a fine line here. They really need to find a way extremely soon to stop this bleeding. If they get triple inhib, the odds of coming back into the game are going to be quite low.
Unfortunately, the bot lane inhibitor respawns the second they're ready to take it down, so it's going to be basically null and void for 10 straight minutes. The unstoppable patch on to, it looks like Chris Meister, the big Wombo. Man, ready to go. Tomato Farmer is legendary. Frisian picks up a kill. The shockwave onto the single gazer. He doesn't care. Tomato Farmer dashes forward. He's feeling it. Desolate Earth has not gone down. He's feeling so strong. Wow, Tomato Farmer actually goes pretty low there as Phoenix gets really, really far in. But if Tomato Farmer is out, you still have Frisian. You still have friction to take things out, an unstoppable or a massive shockwave to get things out of the way. But that is game 3-1. By Purple Cobras. You doubted them, I doubted them, the stream doubted them, but they won 2-1, and they're going to be second place in the league.
Yeah, they did a very good job splitting up team fights in that game, never allowing Full Send Gaming to get any of their strong combos off, having the Ornn and the Rengar alone with the backline of Purple Cobras, never able to bring them down.
So, I've been mentioning the damage charts throughout the series. Both mid laners had extremely good showings in Game 1 and Game 2, respectively. Want an interesting stat for your tank top lane domination?
I'll take an interesting stat, yes.
Okay. The top damage in this game was none other than Cinco Gazer. Onslaughting onto the back line from behind many times. He did 15,000 damage, over 3,000 damage more than the next best player. 24 minutes into the game. That's an incredible amount of damage from Messiah.
Yes, being allowed to sort of beat up on the Ornn in the top lane with those charged up Qs and the percentage health damage from his W, as well as, of course, the full combos onto FSG's backline in team fights, really helping him rack up the damage in this game.
He also had quite a lot of kills. But so I like to give my color caster the opportunity to pick the person that they want to chat with after the game. Do you have a couple thoughts?
Coming off of the Blitzcrank and Leona performances, I wouldn't mind talking to Desolate Earth after that game.
Kind of what I was hoping you would say. Let's see if we can say what's up to Desolate here in a few moments, perhaps. Hello, Desolate Earth. Congratulations on the win. It was an incredible performance both in Game 2 and 3. How's it going?
Hey, I was pretty good.
We just kind of ambushed you, bud?
Oh yeah, I was watching the stream.
Oh, well,
yeah, it can get a little bit confusing. That's perfectly all right.
Freshburger, what do you have to say to this guy?
Well, first, I would like to congratulate you on your stunning performances in the second and third game, really keeping the bot lane of FSG out of the game. What was the idea behind first the Blitzcrank and then the Leona pick? Neither champions that we see very often.
Well, that first game, I right from the start, I knew that I was severely ahead of them skill-wise. Like even on a champion that should beat me, like Morgana, I was beating them the early game. The problem is that we've made a lot of mistakes in the early game, like that early drag. We were overconfident, and then because of that, we ended up like all three of us dying, and they got a severe lead from that, and we just got like outdrafted in that first game. But then, I mean, after that, and we knew what we had to do to win. Like I wanted to force, like just slaughter them. If I had the chance, so yeah.
Yeah, we did see in the first game a lot of those Nautilus hooks landing despite being up against a Morgana with the black shield that should be preventing them. So you just wanted to perhaps find a way to punish them a little bit harder than you were able to in game 1. And the Blitzcrank hooks along with the Leon Engage allowed you to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that he was probably gonna play like Thresh or something. I was waiting for it because I love to play that like matchup. I mean I respect him for playing hook champ as well. I mean him in particular, but yeah, I mean I love that matchup, and I love being free to like actually play the game with Morgana or something. Yeah, I mean it's just annoying.
All
You
right,
got
all
a
right.
final question for us, Mr. Burger?
Well, a couple things actually. First, for your bot lane, the UN Tomato Farmer, do you think you are one of the more potent bot lanes in this league?
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, if you look at all our losses, the only reason we lose is because we have a sub or something. Something, we have a gold player playing, or somebody who doesn't even buy first items or whatever. Had we been able to never, I mean, play a game without ever having a sub, it would be a totally different story.
All right, and where do you think your team stands going to the second half, given that? So your team with no subs, do you think you're one of the top 2 teams, perhaps, maybe even the best going into the second half of this season?
I would say definitely top two. Top two. I would like to play White Lotus with our full team for sure. But yeah, I think we would be a really good match.
Yeah, definitely a very exciting match to look forward to seeing in the second half of the season. Purple Cobras against White Lotus.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Desolate Earth, you might have stolen my heart for the best hooking support in the league. Do you have anything you'd like to say to fans, or to your buddies, or to your arch nemesis?
No, I mean I just want to say a good game to them. They didn't BM or anything. I know some teams like to just throw them. I mean I don't mind that, but and I respect anyone that plays a hook champ. So yeah, good game to them.
Awesome. Congratulations, Desolate
Right.
Earth. You're now sitting pretty in the second place. Thank you very much. Freshburger, do you got a couple closing words for us?
I don't think there's that much more to say about this series. Purple Cobras just really figuring out what their win condition was and playing around it beautifully in that third game especially. I look forward to seeing what more they have to show us in the remainder of this season.
Yeah, this season is really, really heating up. I like parity a lot of teams. I also like the heat up of the fan interaction. You guys are awesome. All I could ask for you more, make sure to follow out our social medias, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Be active. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see when you vote for different teams. Thank you all very much for tuning in. It's been a great night. I want to thank everyone from the production crew. Fresh Burger's been hanging out with me all night. My name's Hickory. Nick has been taking care of the production as well. Thank you all very much for tuning in. See you guys soon for the next installment of the GXPC Season 4.